Come on.
The Reds came to Kenosha to riot just for fun. The DNC had told them that the cops were on the run. But communists and primates, while on a jog at night, say remember Kyle Slaughter and the bloody Armalite. And it's up in Kenosha, that's where I long to be, protecting gas stations with commandos next to me. A comrade on me left, another one on me right, and a couple mags of ammo for me little Armalite.
Yes. What'd you guys think of that opener?
I thought it was longer.
Oh yeah, there was a bunch of dead space at the end, and I just clipped that off. So I really wanted to throw in the machine gun sound effect, but I just couldn't find some old IRA footage of guys shooting the machine guns or something like that in time.
Anytime I hear music like that and I feel like I'm in an Irish pub, I just feel soothed.
I bet. Okay, so God. Speaking of Irish pubs, there was a Irish pub chain here in the city where I live, and with me, going to the bar, you go, okay, you got Guinness, you got Bailey's, you got some a variety of Irish whiskeys. Can you guys do an Irish car bomb? The bartender goes, a what? And
Unacceptable.
Yes, you're right. Totally unacceptable.
Dude, the best Irish pub I've ever been to was not in Ireland. It was in Dubai. And you can't say the word bomb there, because people are like you want a bomb? Boy, I can hook you up. Meet me in the parking lot,
Yeah.
Like, no, it's a drink.
What do you want? Do you want vest? Do you want vehicle? Do you want truck? You have to be more specific.
Oh, good. Okay, so as the opener suggested, security guy and I were talking, and both of us are kind of on the impression things might get a little squirrely, if that's putting it lightly. And bug out, risky. What do you guys think?
Well, I'm on the fence, to be honest. They got their cake right now. So do they want to eat it too? Or are they just going to ride this out? That's sort of where I'm at on this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think never underestimate the stupidity of commies. Like the people organizing this, clearly they're in charge of whatever the agenda is. But the run-of-the-mill idiot protesting in the street, rioting, trying to put cops and concrete them into their building with wet concrete, like these idiots are out there. So I would expect this to just accelerate, even if it is a meaningless LARP in the meantime, because they're too foolish to understand the ultimate goal.
Yeah. With me, I've listening to the independent journalists through Telegram and so forth. I mean, and Queefa, they're still out there. They're still running wild.
Oh, yeah.
But it's in their own little burgs. And something that, and I want to bring up Kaz, over the Italian Hillbilly now. I still want to use Fourth Dimension channel, but it's Italian Hillbilly. Anyways, he mentioned something about in our last live stream, something about infrastructure, communications, subversion, that kind of stuff. And I kind of jotted it down in the back of my head. And Risky, I asked you, security guy, and Bug Out. I asked all of y'all, and you guys didn't know, what kind of warfare was it. And I reached out to Dr. Christopher Larson. If you're a fan of Brent,
Doc Larson, yeah.
Yes. We lost Bug Out, or we lost Risky.
He'll be back though.
Okay.
You probably said Doc Larson, and he went to go set up his shrine and light the candles and stuff.
You guys are talking about my dad, and I didn't appreciate it.
But for
I
those
actually hit the camera button, and I panicked and just shut the app immediately. I said, "Fuck!" I'm doxing myself.
Oh shit! But those of you who are in the audience and in the audience, if you're a fan of Brent0331, you know who I'm talking about. And if you don't know Brent0331, definitely subscribe to that. No offense, security guy, but I really love his infantryman's guides.
So do I.
Yeah. But
Well, Doc Larson is a data guy. Brent and SG have two completely different approaches on how they do things, and I think they're compatible with each other. Brent gives you the eyes on the ground perspective, and SG42 gives you the whiteboard. And I think you need to take both to really get a flavor. If you've never done it before, you got to look at both. You know?
Oh, I totally agree.
100%, bro. I literally came up on the predecessors to Brent, right? So then when I get into the game and right before on YouTube, I'm watching Brent all the time. Like his camo considerations and his IMTs and just basic movements and tactics of military doctrine, infantry doctrine are outstanding. But when you combine that with security guy and all of the other engineer related things and security guy shares more than just doctrinal things that are current, that are like in a way Brent does. You're also sharing older film, older stuff or other information from other countries and showing how that has succeeded in other wars and everything. It's like you can pick apart and take chunks here and there. And if you're not paying attention to both of these, both the actual technical current doctrine and compare that to things of the past and things that have worked in other wars, you're not going to be prepared and proficient in all the necessary potentialities of what we could face.
Now, I'm going to quote Terrence Popp on this, Redonkulous.
Oh, yes.
He said, if or when another civil war kicks off here in the United States, it is going to completely rewrite the doctrines and manuals concerning guerrilla warfare. And I fully agree with that because we are going to be starting at a far higher level than any other group in history, because we have access to more information than anyone else has ever had. We have access to better weapons starting out than anyone else has ever had. And the general knowledge of the military and law enforcement veterans that would get involved, that just kicks it to a completely different level. And we're going to take what happened in the past and we're going to modify it to suit our needs at that time. And then when the situation changes on the battlefield, we'll switch right away to something else and adapt it.
Bro, shout out to you for knowing who Terrence Popp is. That's awesome. I love Terrence Popp, man. Number 282, shout out Terrence and Blight. You guys are the best. That is another channel that's extremely important, especially if you want to look at, he does this thing called Pop's Preppers. And he says he has an email where he keeps track of individuals, or doesn't keep track of them, that's a stupid way to say it. He keeps in touch with people that sign up for his email list in the event that YouTube goes down or the internet, other facets of the internet go down. And that in and of itself, combined with his talk, he's pretty based, to quote an FBI word, but he's based in reality. Combat vet, Green Beret, been there, done that. And he understands. What's that, brother?
Pop has seen more shit than all of us combined, guaranteed.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. And he understands what's going on to a point where, based on his experience, he already had the platform for other reasons. So when I found out about him and I heard he's helping guys that are dealing with tough times, and I've dealt with that myself. I talk about some programs and things like that on my channel. But when he did it, it's like he doesn't even take a religious approach at all, completely non-religious. And I've been through that as well, but he just goes straight to the issues. And if you haven't checked out Terrence Popp and Redonkulous, and you're watching this, obviously you have similar humor and everything, I highly suggest it. The fact that security guy pointed that out, top tier. That means he just moved up a few notches in my book.
What do they call that? Real realizes real or something like that. There's some saying.
Respect earns respect, as Birdman would say. Put some respect on my name. Respect. I think that's how you say it. To be.
Isn't respect like when you have a character in World of Warcraft and you're like, this is all wrong, and you start over again as like a cleric or something?
I'm not ashamed to say I don't know what the fuck anything about World of Warcraft is about. I've never played it once.
I was making a joke. It's funny. There's people laughing out there.
I'm ashamed. At first I was like, he's really going with the World of Warcraft. I'm glad you're joking, bro. I did not expect that out of you. Good. Yes.
To be honest, the last game system I ever played was a PS1. And
I got a 2 laying around somewhere.
I just got no time nor the interest to play video games. So
yeah, I lost interest myself too.
Yeah. I think once you hit a certain knowledge aspect, you're thinking, this is just another part of the bread and circus. This is keeping us passive. And it's video games, maybe once in a great while, maybe to hook up with online friends, if you will, you haven't seen in a while. Get in touch with each other, play probably Call of Duty 1 or something like that, and if you can still log on with that. I don't know. I've never played that shit, but once in a great while, that's fine. But constantly playing the video games, no. Excuse me.
Sorry, go ahead, man.
Even when I did play video games a lot, I was primarily playing strategy games because I found first-person shooters just to be boring after the first run.
Yeah.
True. And I used to have this thing that was called when my wife wanted to watch The Bachelor or something, I'd go in another room and turn on a computer and go, well, I guess I'm going to run around and shoot people. But when I moved out into the middle of nowhere, my connection doesn't support any of that stuff. So like, I don't even own a computer anymore. It's kind of weird. We do have a laptop, but I don't have a gaming system anymore. I don't have any of that shit. It all kind of, when I started contracting and then I moved out here, it's just, I went years without messing with it. So I just, if I don't go back to it, I won't dabble with it anymore. You know what I mean? So it's like a guy looking at them thick girls and going, man, I remember those. But you know what? Got me a skinny one now. Those days are over,
Okay.
I thought you were going to say when your wife starts watching The Bachelor, you were going to the internet to start watching, quote unquote, The Bachelorette.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it probably works in a pinch, but was never that desperate before.
Okay. All right, let's get things started because
let's get into shit here.
Okay. Whoops. Let's see. Bear with me. I'm trying this.
Don't worry, I'm back. My amazing shit-ass country internet strikes again.
Oh, your audio cleared up.
About.
It cleared up. I just added the second AirPod is all it was.
Oh, okay.
I'm a genius. Put the second one in. What can I say?
Yeah, like the percussion section stopped playing every time you spoke.
Dude, I don't know. I literally am that guy. I've been on like 3 podcasts in the last 2 weeks, and every single one of them, the audio is fucked. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Y'all's equipment's terrible. Meanwhile, it's me every single time.
Okay. For some reason, it didn't really work out as best I wanted to. I'd want to do the full full screen type shit. But okay. But getting back, oops, I lost. Let me get back to this. I got so many windows open. But anyways, Doc Larson, I asked him about infrastructure communications. As I couldn't remember what kind of warfare it was, and he responded, "That's part of unconventional warfare / irregular warfare." He says, "My book, Op4, Smart Book 3, Red Team Army." Discusses this from a Russian-centric perspective. U.S. military also has a doctrine on this, although much of it is classified and not available to the public. There's a UK and Israeli literature on UW/IW as well. He says you might find some declassified stuff from the 60s and 70s.
Well, do you know the pyramid? The pyramid of unconventional warfare, when it starts off as like a grassroots sort of thing, like, and then you get your BLMs and stuff like that. But way towards the top is when you start hitting this kind of stuff. Right before it goes overt, where they're basically like, "Yeah, kill those people," like they start really dabbling with that sort of stuff. And that's a really bad sign if that's where we're at. If that's what you're saying.
Hang on one second. Let me see if I can. Oops. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? All right. Let's see. Stop sharing. Present. Share screen. Window. Okay. Whoops. Is that the one you're talking about? Oh, it's not sharing. Damn it! Oh, there it is. Is that the pyramid you're talking about? Bug out?
No. Well, this is more official right here. Man, let me see if I can find it.
Send it to me. Yeah, email it to me or message it to me. And
if I go silent, sometimes it cuts me out of here when I minimize the window, and sometimes it doesn't. So if you don't hear from me for a minute, I'm looking for this image. Okay.
Oh, okay. Because I think I've seen it. Where I've seen it? Oh, okay. Like guerrilla leadership, is that it?
I think he's talking about the stages of guerrilla warfare, where you go from discontent up through.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me see, because I had a good one that I saved. I just got to remember where the hell I put it. Hold on a sec. Maybe it's a screenshot.
Okay. Let me finish the email I got from Doc. Oops. He says, copies of Mao Zedong's on guerrilla warfare are available, interpreted in English. So is Roger Trinquear's book, Modern Warfare, A French View of Counterinsurgency. These are required readings in various military schools. Hope that helps. Yes, Doc, it did help. Unfortunately, there was just so much material that I got into. It's just, how do you break it down to a 15-minute, or less type spiel? So, okay, bug out while you're still looking for that. Let me pull up the PowerPoint once again. Oh, here it is. Got it. Okay, save as desktop.
Yeah. Okay. I found it.
Share screen. Oops. Cancel. Present. Slides.
For those of you out there in TV land, Ron has a considerable amount of information he has put together. He's just clicking through to find which piece he wants to bring up.
Yeah. Okay. Let me shove that over here.
For those of you who want to know, I met Bug Out in person, 2 weeks ago, roughly.
That was longer than 2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
I don't know. I'm bad with timing like that.
Yeah,
but
me too.
So you're a real person. You're not just some internet
Okay.
facade.
All right. Let me zoom into the very top of the pyramid. Let's see. War of movement phase. Bug out. Where do we start at? The bottom or go for the very
You start
top?
at the bottom, obviously, and move your way up.
Okay, up. All right. Dissatisfaction with political, economic, social, administrative, and or other conditions, national aspiration, independence, or desire for ideological and other changes. Next rung, creation of atmosphere through propaganda, lies, and political and psychological effects.
Does that seem familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Obama years. Yeah.
Yep. And also right now, assassination forming favorable public opinion, creation of
i.e. all of Hillary's later career,
Yep. Increased agitation, unrest, and disaffection, infiltration of administration, police, and military and national organizations. 2016, anybody?
And onward.
Yep. Infiltration of foreign agents and agitators and foreign propaganda, material, money, weapons, and equipment.
Ukraine? No, couldn't be Ukraine.
No, I'm seeing that here in the U.S.
No, everywhere. But this is like part and parcel,
Yeah.
When we have several examples for each of these categories, it's bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Recruitment of like-minded individuals, indoctrination, and
wokeism.
Yeah. Penetration into professional, society, and political organizations. That's been going on for the last 30 years? Easy?
Longer than that. They've been doing it since the 1960s, I think, is what David Nennick was tracking.
Okay. Spreading subversive organizations into all sectors. Same thing again, what security guys said. Establishment of formalized resistant elements.
And that would be the official, we're Antifa, we've come back.
Mm-hmm.
And BLM and, all the other little groups that we've seen come to the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
A real interesting one there that unfortunately went away before its time was the NFAC. Remember those guys?
Yes.
Uh,
I was going to mention those faggots, but yeah.
Okay.
They were great. They were great because they were just a walking open book of like, there's some bad shit coming down the pipe. You know what I mean?
It's like they're FBI handlers. Just
right.
They whoever was assigned, the FBI agent was assigned to these jokers, was maybe just fresh out of the academy.
It seemed like it.
Yeah.
Bull pups for days.
Yep. And since let's see, expansion of coordination among resistance networks. Yep. Seen that with Antifa, BLM, and so forth. Intensification.
Well, you got Antifa going to like Pathfinder courses and stuff now. There's like elements of Antifa that are getting the training that we talk about and throw one day after it. Mm-hmm. They're sending school buses full of people to these things, and where's the money coming from? And these guys and these people that are on our team are training these dudes, man.
Yeah,
that's the fucked up part. Yeah.
So like this shit is happening. This shit is actually happening right now. It's pretty alarming. And the further you get towards the top, when you start going, wait a minute, like this is happening too, and it's like, where are we on this list? Like, are we that close? Are we really this close? But man, when you keep going, you'll see what I'm talking about.
We absolutely are this close, brother. When they start getting to the point where they're putting their people in training to the level and more than we are, how else does it end? Why are they doing that? They're the aggressors here, right? If they're going and doing the same things we are, but to a more, I don't want to say more, because I feel like there's more of us at face value, but they care more at face value.
Yeah,
well, they're more indoctrinated into it.
Yeah, it's an extremist cult for sure.
Exactly.
The morale and motivation is they dwarf us. They dwarf us because they're idealists, And what I used to say before Antifa and actually before BLM too, I used to tell people, when they start picking out uniforms, that's when we were in trouble. But Antifa,
It's just a matter of
they sort
time before they start donning S-vests, my man.
Yeah, well, they kind of picked out the uniforms already with this Antifa thing, sort of the black kind of punk rock looking shit that they do. But that's a uniform,
Mhm.
the black mask, all that shit. And I'm like, I'm going, man, all these. I'm not listening to myself because I said when they do this, when they do this, when they do this, and I keep moving the poll. Well, okay, they did that, yeah, sure, but now when they do this, it's like I'm giving them mental commands of like how to make me feel like I'm not doing anything. But like we can't, I don't know. That's probably coming next, so I don't want to jump the gun here, but yeah, wow.
And they've been sending a considerable number of people over to Ukraine.
Yes.
They sent quite a few into Syria to fight with the Kurds. And the Kurdish units they fought with in Syria were communists. They came back to the U.S. They trained more and more people, Antifa, BLM here in the U.S. Then shit kicks off in Ukraine, and then they got the excuse of, hey, now we got AIT for even more people. And they've been shipping people en masse into Ukraine.
Yeah.
That's where you get people.
Time.
Yeah, that's where you get people like this Civ Div and, who else is over there.
Yeah. So let's move on. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Expansion. Okay, yeah, let's see. Intensification of propaganda. Did we cover that?
I could say that's easy. Just look at the news, look at what's being taught in school. That right there.
All right. Overt and covert pressures against governments, strikes, riots, and disorders. 2020, anybody? Sabotage and terror to demonstrate weakness of government.
Power grid attacks.
Yep.
Let's see. Trains mysteriously crashing with hazardous materials.
The wildfires, the mysterious wildfires that nobody started. Remember those?
Uh-huh.
How about all the warehouse fires we've been seeing in my industry?
Yeah.
I'll take 18,000 cattle dead from a dairy explosion for no reason for 600, Alex.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. Let's see. Increase underground activities to demonstrate strength of revolutionary organization. They're on Telegram. They're on, not Rumble. Oh, God.
Well, they're on everything because they don't get kicked off.
Yeah.
They mirror what we do, but they don't have to hide it as much as we do.
Yeah.
They don't have to hide it at all.
They're protected.
Yeah. I'm receiving, and I'm not a great metric for this, so don't put this across the board for those of you, excuse me, one too many beers, got the burps. For those of you who are listening, don't take this as carte blanche. I'm getting attacked. I'm being attempted to be doxxed all the time on Telegram, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Rumble. All the time. Every single day. Nothing is happening to these people. If I were to do that, I'd be fucking gone in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, double standard, for sure.
Patriot
I did one video a couple years ago, a video response to someone that was attacking me. Because I mentioned that person's screen name in that video, it got taken down. I was told I was doxing the person. They were attacking me in a fucking comment, and I was responding to it, and I'm the one that got the strike for it.
Unreal.
What a coincidence.
It always works out that the coincidences favor one side, doesn't it? It's always a technical difficulty, or that's an error. Don't think twice about it. But it literally never happens in our favor.
I did nothing, though. When they got me, they didn't even have an infraction. They just turned my shit off. Like, I just woke up one day and my Instagram and my Facebook was just defunct. Like, I never had an account.
Wow.
And then I tried to make another account because people said, man, just make another account. And they went, nope, you are not allowed to be on Facebook. And I went, oh, shit, I'm IP banned. But I learned that day that Instagram and Facebook were like the same people, because my Instagram, when I was contracting, the only reason why I had an Instagram was to share photos with my kids, you know? So all the photos I had on Instagram were kind of kid friendly. It was like pictures of kids in Afghanistan, or like cool buildings, or like, you know, you go by Bamia, you take a picture of Buddha or whatever. And it was just stuff where that, like, I wanted my kids to see what I was up to. And they banned that too. And none of those photos were by any run of the mill something that you would flag. You know, it was all basically art. I'm a pretty good photographer, you know. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'm probably better than all you guys at photography, you know. That's a joke, by the way. But I'm not a bad photographer though. And yeah. I was pissed, man, because I was like, man, I got openly targeted. I called Kaz. That's the first person I got a hold of, and I said, dude, how do I fight back? And he said, man, why don't you start a YouTube channel? And like, that was how I got into YouTube, actually. Okay. I already had a YouTube like account or whatever, but I started making videos right after that. And it was Kaz that, I don't know, man. Right before the election, when Biden won. So like 4 days before the election, actually. So November, whenever, 2020. Yeah.
Okay. One thing I wanted to bring up when we're talking about sabotage. Let's see. Yeah, sabotage and terror. Patriot Peasant. What if all the chemical spills, train derailments, and fire to force people into the cities to implement the 15-minute cities? That's possible. A very good idea. However, I was listening to a old episode of the American Journal, and one of the callers mentioned that because of the whole train derailment in East Palestine, that's prime Amish country, and it's apparently organizations, I mean big money organizations, have been trying to buy up all that land.
Oh, so it's like a financial eugenics program, pretty much.
Nothing can convince me there is not collusion when those people died on the plane going to Ohio. There's that doesn't happen normally. The circumstances surrounding that are confusing at best. I am totally a conspiracy theorist, 100%. This definitely falls into that category.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I used to be a conspiracy theorist, and now, once you've been at it for a while, you start instantly realizing what's legitimate and what isn't. And there's so much legitimate stuff coming across the desk that, like, you almost can't be a conspiracy theorist today. It's impossible, because they verify their own information. You know, I mean, it's wild, but they validate and what's that word? You know, how they prove the conspiracies to be true on a constant basis. You know, by trying to dodge this bullet, they acknowledge that bullet. And then they dodge that bullet and they acknowledge another one, you know, and
by openly defying and putting fact checks on Google. If you Google something and there's 1,000 fact checks, excuse me if I could fucking speak, there's 1,000 fact checks, probably get the gut feeling I might be onto something, even though the screen says otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of had the boomer-esque thing at first when Snopes came out. Do you remember those days?
Oh, God.
Well, and with Snopes, everybody went, well, Snopes said it was wrong. And I went, well, fuck, I'm wrong? And that actually got me for a minute. And then there were some things that I had firsthand eyewitness. I personally was there, and Snopes said, nope, that never happened. And I went, aha, they're full of shit. And then I started fact checking Snopes, and I was like, this is a propaganda machine right here, you know? And man, I've never believed any of that shit since. And look at Twitter, look at Facebook, look at the stuff that they were caught doing. And they're never held accountable for this shit. Never. And it's really wild to me, man, because like they are basically staging an ideological revolution right in front of our eyes, and no one's doing a fucking thing about it, you know? And well, what can you do though? Right. I mean, if you're not ready to go all the way with the torch and the pitchfork, then do you sit back and just drink the rainbow colored Bud Light, or do you, like, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
they know all of this in advance. That's the worst part, man. They've literally been setting this up for decades. And it's like, there comes a point, whether And I want it to be completely honest, but it doesn't matter if I want it to or not. There comes a point when we teeter-totter back and forth from, are we going to let this continue or are we going to do something about it? And we're approaching that. And when I say we, I don't even necessarily mean anyone within the sound of my voice. I just mean in general as a society. And
Some old man
we
cutting the
are
grass.
approaching that.
Yeah. In the back of his head, some old man's cutting the grass, and he is asking himself that question. If that's what you mean.
Yes. And the problem is, and I think about this all the time. This is probably maybe the one driving force that I think about more than anything. We will have to stand up collectively and do something about it. And until we do, it will continue. But it's such a treacherous, slippery slope of who and when and where do we stand up that the other side knows that. And they're banking, from what I can tell, that we're going to do it at the wrong time.
Yes.
And then they can capitalize on that and paint us like they already have. They can finish the painting, to put it better, because they've already painted us as the bad guy. They're going to solidify that in their final artwork of these are the insurrectionists as per January 6th reincarnate. Instead of addressing any one of the myriad of things they've done to perpetuate this and start it, and it literally is them starting this,
And
they
now
will
you're
then
getting-
continue their assault on us once they have the motive. And the motive is what they're trying to get us to act upon so they can finish this whole cycle of bullshit.
And now you're getting into some of the stuff I mentioned on the last live stream near the end of it, where my theory was, and I think this is probably what we're seeing happening. I said that this year we're going to start seeing attacks. And these attacks are going to be primarily Antifa and BLM, but they're going to be wearing MAGA gear. They're going to be wearing Patriot gear. They're going to go out there. They're going to do mass shootings. They're going to do attacks of quote unquote peaceful protests by the left. You know, you're going to have people coming in there
logistically
swinging
makes
clubs
sense.
and stuff. Because they learned on January 6th, they can dress up like us and the media will run with it and will never allow anyone to question that it isn't us.
Well, there was that
So
whole
I
crop
think
of
we're
them.
going to see that. We're going to see that, I think, whole scale this year. They're going to go through. They're going to do actual terrorist type attacks. And
That's
the
at the
media
bare
and
minimum.
the government.
They
yeah,
absolutely will do that, unless they're hoping we do it. And if we don't, they'll do it on our behalf publicly.
And
well, look at that. Remember that group of like ultra MAGA type dudes that wore the khaki pants and the white shirts. I forget
Patriot
what they were
Front,
called.
the U-Haul idiots.
Yeah, I was going to get to them, but
total feds.
Yeah. We're going to see attacks, and I mentioned it's going to escalate up into IEDs. We're going to start seeing car bombs going off next to gay pride parades and shit.
Well, they had the bombs in place at January 6th, but they never detonated. So
someone fucked them up really bad.
They've already done this. They wanted January 6th to be way more than it was, and they're still going off of the script, but the script was missing the event. And the event was there was going to be those bombs, and then they were just hoping that stuff kicked off from that because the tension was already there, I guess. I wasn't there, but
to use a gay, stupid VA term, we are missing the Nexus event.
Well, that's where it comes. You know, these things are going to keep happening this year. It's going to be one after another after another. They're going to say that we're the ones doing it, even though we keep denying it. Then they will attack Trump for it, say that, well, your supporters are the ones doing this. You need to disavow. You need to back out, you know, and we'll have whatever bullshit political game they have going there. Ultimately, Trump will disavow the Patriot movement, and it'll just keep snowballing and snowballing. And then I think that's what's going to lead into gun control on a national level because of the shootings. The shootings will be on camera with people with AR-15s wearing body armor. So
yes,
then
Or
and
whatever
not to
the
simp
latest
for
flavor.
Trump, but you don't even need to add Trump into it. They will totally do that, and they will totally blame us. Like, let's say, for example,
they're
Trump is
going to
out of the
do it
picture,
for.
right? Let's say we all disavow Trump. I don't see it happening, but let's say we all do. They will still perpetuate shootings and put it on us in our new hats that might not be red anymore, but whatever they designate us to wear. So, like, I agree with you. I just think it's a step further in that we don't even have to consider Trump in this.
I
They
know, but
are
they're
willing
just going to
to.
try. I've mentioned before. I think Trump is part of the plan. He's not on our side. He's on there playing his part of the script. And for proof on that, look at his arrest and how he tried to organize people for riots across the country.
I wasn't cool with that at all.
And then let's not forget, for those of you that forgot, this was just a couple weeks ago. He posted that tweet about, if I am arrested, there will be death and destruction across this country, unlike anything anyone has ever seen.
Whoa.
Remember that one? That wasn't that goddamn long ago. That
I was too
right
busy
before
drinking
he
Bud
was
Light, man.
arrested. So he's in on this shit.
Even
But-
if he's not, he has. And okay, so I agree, because if he wasn't in on it, he should have done things different. He literally ushered in the medical experiment.
Oh yeah.
It was his doing. He literally banned bump stocks. So I see this, and there's probably more things that people want to say, but like I'm privy to this. I understand that. That being said, he by not addressing those issues and by perpetuating other things and not addressing the medical experiment and your decisions there's absolutely no way I can trust him moving forward. How could I? If it would be different if he said, I screwed up, here's this and that. None of that's happened. So we're going balls deep into, we have to support Trump, and we can't support DeSantis because we have all this other conflicting information coming that way. However, we're going to be forced into a spot where we don't get to vote who we want to vote for, and they are going to perpetuate circumstances in which there are going to be limitations on voting. There's no way they don't at this point.
Yeah.
That's
Hang
part
on,
of
dude.
what I think's going to happen. And
Yeah,
I mentioned that back in January.
I've been drinking. I'm getting ahead of myself.
But dude, going back to a couple live streams ago that we had, and I'm going to throw this card down again. You're assuming that we're going to even have an election. You know,
Yeah, that
I mean,
too.
Oh, I'm
Like-
not assuming that. I've said from day one, I think one of four things would happen. And one of those would be there cannot be an election because they would have
Can't
to.
be.
Here, I'm going to give you all four real quick, a matter of seconds. They have to cheat so obviously that we all see it coming because we know it's coming. Or they have to prevent you from voting who you want to vote for. Or they have to prevent that person from running. Or they have to just prevent the election. Those are the only four outcomes for elections in the United States. There's no other election. That's why people say we've gone past the ballot box and entered the bullet box type of conversation. I'm done.
Well, it's people always point when I point this stuff out about Trump, I still get the people of they're in this mindset. They voted for him and they can't accept that maybe they were duped into voting for him. And then they start talking about, well, look at they impeached him twice. They got all these court cases against him and that stuff. And I accept, yes, that happened. But you got to look at it, pull yourself back. They're not doing it against Trump the person. They're doing it against what Trump represents. Trump represents traditional American values. He may not believe one fucking crumb of it. You know, he may shit all over it, Mr. The attack on your guns is over, and then turns around saying, we'll take the guns first and due process later.
Yeah.
They have to destroy the image that Trump represents. That's why they attack him so much. And when you have these attacks happen that I think are going to kick off here starting in May, they're going to get him to publicly disavow us multiple times on camera. And then by doing that, the Trump cultists will then turn against us also. This will just keep snowballing and snowballing, and then it's going to turn into the assault weapons ban. It'll turn into the ban on body armor. So that when we get into 2024, the conversation in government then is going to be, well, how do we make sure the elections are secure and we don't have attacks like we did last year? That's when we're going to start seeing certain groups being disenfranchised for whatever reason, not being allowed to vote for whatever excuse they come up with. And I really believe 2024 in spring is when they're going to start the arrests.
Oh yes. Okay. Now you're starting. See, before when you and I were talking about this a couple days ago, I was like, man, I don't know, I'm not seeing it because. But now we're starting to coincide here because what I was getting at was anything they do in 2023 is going to be wasted because the memory of the public is not that long. So if you throw
look what they did with the January 6th stuff, though. They're still pounding it away. Now imagine if we have actual attacks on camera, actual blood pouring in the streets. Do you think they're going to let that ever be forgotten? They're just going to keep pounding it every fucking program. So it will stay fresh in people's minds.
I think they're going to save some of that for. I think 2024 is going to be a roller coaster, dude. I mean, I really do. I think they're definitely going to. And as far as like Summer of Love type stuff and protests and all that other jazz, yeah, 2023 is definitely going to be a ramp up. But man, the second that the clock hits noon on January 1st in 2024, that's when, like, if you don't have it, you better really, really consider getting it because like it's on its way, you know?
One thing I want to add to Security Guy, what Security Guy was talking about a little while ago about the whole Trump thing. Rewind the clock. Rewind your VCRs, boys and girls, to 1992, the presidential election, presidential debates between Bush Sr., Clinton, and a wildcat out of Texas, Ross Perot. Now, I've been watching, I was kind of forced when I was a kid to watch the presidential debates between Reagan and Carter, Reagan and Mondale.
That was a great one, by the way.
Yeah. But you could see it was the tit for tat, back and forth, slinging the mud back at each other. But once Ross Perot was on that stage, stuck between Clinton and Bush, you saw a old school wrestling tag team match attacking Perot. And I'm going, that was the year, that was my first presidential election I voted in. And
me too.
Yeah. And I saw, that was my first wake up call to the left right paradigm. But it was, I didn't fully wake up then, you know, I was still real young. Just turned 18.
I wrote Perot in. I voted for him as a write-in, and I didn't realize how to play the game back then, you know?
Yeah.
And man, when I went to boot camp, which was right after the election, they were like, who voted for Clinton? And like, you know, two guys raised their hand and they said, get on the quarterdeck. And they were like, who voted for Perot? And I raised my hand like a fucking retard. And they were like, get on the quarterdeck, you know? And like, dude, it was just like the first like month that I was there. It was just like whenever they got bored and wanted to punish someone, there was like, who are my retard voters? Get over here, you know?
And I'm thinking back, you know, if Trump would have gone the third candidate route, it would have been just a repeat all over. And if Trump really was part of the system, they wouldn't have him do third party. He would be one or the other. You know,
well, if he didn't win the primary, and he wasn't supposed to, by the way,
right?
If he didn't win the primary when he took the presidency, he was going to run third party. He was going to split the vote, and it was going to ensure that Hillary made it in. And that's why Hillary was so pissed at him. She wouldn't even look at him when remember, she wouldn't shake his hand and she wouldn't look at him.
Oh,
He was supposed to split it. She was supposed to win. I think it was a deal. I think they had a deal. But when he won the primary, I think he looked at her and said, "Hey, I'm going to see where this goes." You know?
Yeah.
And I think his entire presidency was a target of opportunity. No. I think his entire presidency should not have happened in the first place. And that's why they were trying to assassinate him so bad. And I think he was winging it, to be honest, you know?
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
He'll do it this time, though. What he was supposed to do last time, he'll do this time. He won't make the primary for whatever reason because they're going to smear him or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he's going to run anyway. And then it's going to be like, okay, are you a Trump guy? Are you a DeSantis guy? Are you this guy? Are you that guy? And the Democrats are going to run the most popular president that ever ran, Joe Biden. And like, how do you face that? He got more votes than anybody ever in the history of ever. Like, how do you fight that guy? I mean, he's just such a mental Gandalf that like you can't do that. You can't split the vote against a guy like that with such prowess.
Right. Yeah. To add credence, Democratic, like Hobo Chili Recipes says the new Democrat Party wants a year 2.0. And for those, and those who don't remember, it was a idea pulled up from Pol Pot. Do some research, people.
Talking about a holiday in Cambodia.
Yeah, old Dead Kennedy tune.
Yeah.
Listening to go back to American Journal. Yeah, one of the bumper musics or songs in the industry, it's called bumper music. When you're coming in or out of a program, Harrison Smith has got Police Truck by the Dead Kennedys. I'm going, oh shit! I hope they censored that. but the swearing's later on. Let's finish this pyramid so we can get let's see, negotiations with government representatives. We haven't. I don't think we've seen that. We've
seen that off and on, but nothing major.
No, look at Maxine Waters out in the middle.
That's right.
Come on, man. This is all we've been seeing. And we've been seeing it so much that we don't even realize that we're seeing it. But like political activists, when Tennessee, when has a political activist that's also a member of government been out? And Nikki Fried here in Florida just got arrested actively protesting. And dude, this is the new flavor right here. Like, it's not enough just to be in office. It's not enough just to vote one way or the other. You got to get out there and break some windows now, Yeah. And
unless,
they're doing it.
Yeah. I mean, the only way you're going to get away with the break of the windows is if you got the DNC behind you. Let's see, increased political violence, terror, and sabotage. Yep, 2020 still goes on with the Chaz and Chop. Shadow government activity. Now we're going.
Here we go.
Yeah,
here we go. Right here.
Don't you even start mentioning shadow government, you fucking conspiracy theorist.
I got my tinfoil hat on, man.
Now, Big Brother is watching, NSA is watching, all those people are watching, and that is exactly what they're talking about here. That we are just being peeled, like left and right. We are getting peeled off by these guys when they finally get a hold of these terrible groups that they're talking about. It turns out of the 20 people they arrest, they go after 4 of them. And you're like, why? It's because the other 16 were them. The shadow government is making this happen,
Oh, yeah.
So that line is crossed off. So where are we at? That's, dude, shadow governance activities, they're starting to come after us. That's the only thing that's going to, we're like right at that phase line,
You're using you're using the Whitmer excuse. He's a conspiracy theorist. Arrest him.
Not just Whitmer. Look at a Patriot Front.
Look at the guy who just happened to leave the bomb in front of the FBI and is magically never found.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. It's I believe this is the line that we're at right here. And
Yeah.
the colored section on the top is still where we have yet to go, in my opinion.
in.
But we're
Because-
right on the edge.
We're
Yeah.
right on the edge. Yeah, we are right on the edge of that.
Yeah.
Thank God you've zoomed in on this and not allowed me to accidentally show my face the 6 times I've turned on the camera by accident. Holy shit.
But look at what comes next, though, because
Yes.
all right, we're missing, and this is what's going to happen. So they've done the bus where the quote unquote agents that are quote unquote like part of the counterculture or whatever, and then they go, haha, I got you, and they arrest the 3 retards that they propped up and gave guns and bombs to and said, here's what you need to do. And when they say okay, then they arrest them, right? Well, there's that
Here,
going on.
shoot up this rural North Carolina tower.
Here's a Daniel Defense rifle, Mr. Unemployed 19-year-old, you know.
Yeah. Not just
but-
one, but 4, wasn't it?
It's even got a grip and an EOTech.
Yeah.
Now, what comes next is when the teams start busting indoors, because like they're not even going through the motions of doing that shit. They're just going to start coming and getting people. And when that happens, that's when we've crossed the line. But man, the stuff that comes next.
That's what I was getting to is I think that's going to start in the spring of 24. I think that's when they're going to start going after the people that they've identified as the potential real leaders of the resistance, not the
I would agree with that.
figureheads they've put out there.
I mean, is
But-
it fair to say they're not going to wait longer than that? Because, okay, so let's put this in a way that YouTube can digest it. If I, Krisky, were to assume illegal control of the government, right? If I cheated, not anyone else, but me, Krisky, if I cheated the election system and got in, what would I do, right? Maybe I would try to hide all of my illicit activity. Maybe I would be so afraid that if the other side came to power somehow, or rose to enough power, that is, to where they could expose my crimes for real, that I didn't have control over through the proxy of the mainstream media cover, how would I do that? I could not absolutely whatsoever let them resume power or assume power again. That cannot happen, right? So I have to maintain it at all costs. So I think it's fair to say, as an ignorant LARPing fool on Instagram and YouTube, that I don't think there's any way they let us get past the next presidential election without completely and utterly demonstrating their dominance over us. Because if they don't, they'll lose, and they can't have that because
We must be
will get
in
caught.
check.
Yeah.
We have to be in check before that happens.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're not going to win, right? Like, and if they can't come after the guns, there's too many of them. They have to go about this a different way
Well,
than
they
just
also
traditionally
want-
conceived.
They want their people to have guns too. So
Yeah.
there's that little conundrum also. I think they're going to go after the mentality and the ideology before they go after the physicalities of it, you know.
Much
But,
easier
yeah,
logistically
body armor-
to do that.
Body armor, I mean, the other thing is with them sponsoring the rebellion, which is the weirdest thing ever, right? But I mean, they're not exactly operating in a legal fashion anyway. For example, Kenosha is a great one because the guy who got shot was a felon in possession of a firearm that crossed state lines, and he was never charged for any of that. Never. So they're not interested in that. You know, I mean, they've more. You know, you have to have a prosecutor that will prosecute to enforce these laws. They already have the prosecutors. That's clear, plain as day. And this Trump indictment, take Trump for good or bad or whatever. This dude has nothing, man. And they let this thing go, and it's ridiculous, you know. But it's going to go. It's, you know, I mean, they already know it's not going to work. But it's the whole flavor where
The courts are
average
ran
voters,
by kangaroos.
well, the voter's going to go,
And
this
they're
guy's
brought
been
in
in
by
court
Soros.
how many times? How many times have they gone after this guy? Maybe there's something to it. That's what your NFL American's going to think when he's standing at the polls, he's going to go, maybe there's something to it, you know? And
I like that term, NFL American. I already want to slap them with a salmon across their face.
yeah,
But
right.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Okay.
A
So
big old fish.
so basically we are at
We're
this
right up
line.
there at the top. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the shadow governance. There's the clandestine and overt phases. I say it's starting to go overt. What do you guys think?
No,
How could it
that's,
not be?
Yeah.
that's what I've been saying this whole time. And when it goes over, the gears change. Things are things are already moving fast. Things are moving faster than SG and Ron. I know you guys have been kind of having an ear on the railroad track here for a long time. I've never seen it move this fast before, ever. This is unprecedented, like as far as this shit goes, you know?
Oh, they're ramping
yeah.
shit up. We've talked about that over the last year in live streams. It seems like they're rushing. They're trying to jump ahead on their timeline because they have some goal they have to meet by a certain date.
You guys are older than me. We talked about this a little bit before the live stream started. Bug Out wasn't here, but he's older than me too. And I'm 34. I just turned 34.
Happy birthday.
And thank you. I woke up to all this shit going on right around J6, a little bit before, right? I kind of saw this coming when I realized it's like, oh, they really are going to go through with him winning, even though it doesn't make any sense. So when all that started to unfold, I was like, oh, okay, so the facade has been pulled back, the curtain has been pulled back, the facade has been revealed. I understand what's really going on. And now it's like I went from totally 100% indoctrinated into this bullshit system into there's absolutely no way we get past this next election without them trying something. And the problem is, look at what they've tried so far.
Yeah.
Look at, and I want to be crystal clear here. I am a combat veteran. I am a firefighter. And I recently have come to the conclusion I don't believe 9/11 happened the way they told us. And when people sit there and like, how can you accept this? Bitch, I've accepted everything at this point.
Yeah.
I've got to the point where it is so uncomfortable to accept that I understand the
You don't
levels
want
in
to.
which they will go. It's fucking horrific.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
So we are there. They will abso-fucking-lutely go to the next step. And we have to be prepared. And the problem is we can't even organize functionally to defend against it because that's what they're hoping for, because then they can network us easier and do all this. So for all of you out there listening, it is not hopeless. We are in a point of despair in this country. But by God, there are enough of us to where we can do something if given the opportunity and given the right time from God. And maybe we're not. Maybe that isn't this time. But what else are we going to fucking do? Strike first? Be the bad guys? No. We've never done that. We're not the bad guys.
Well, I've said before, and I still stand by this, they're not going to give us the one single Lexington Green moment because they can't. Because when that happens, that turns everyone against them.
Yeah.
That's where it's going to be the demonization, like I've mentioned, and then it'll be the arrests.
Just like Yuri Bezmenov said, just like you're alluding to. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the same
And
exact
I think
line.
those arrests won't be a single Lexington Green moment. It'll be 100, 1,000 Lexington Green moments. And it's going to be an individual choice. Because as the prominent people start getting rounded up, you're going to have other people who are ready. They're going to be questioning what's going on. And then when they hear someone's fighting back, that'll be their moment when they say, you know what? Now's the time. I'm going to the field.
It'll happen. It'll be a cascading effect. That's what I truly believe. So when people, and I'm catering to a minority of the comments here, and I agree with this in advance, but a lot of people will say, you're advocating doing nothing, and it's not that. I'm not advocating doing nothing. I'm advocating wait until the right time, until you are pushed beyond a point in which you can do anything else. Because
I
we are the good guys. We're not trying to do anything bad. They have to. They literally have no other choice. Because if we refuse to strike first, they will, by default, be the
have
bad
to,
guys.
yeah.
Which they are. So they have to do something. Otherwise, we win. So it's like, I wish it was another way. I wish it was fair from us to throw a strike across the bow right now, yesterday. By God, I would lead the charge, but that
But
is not possible right now.
And that's exactly what they want, too.
Exactly.
That's
We cannot stoop to the level of catering to their absolute treasonous plans. They will default on this bullshit loan they've taken out on our freedom.
One night here in the SG42 subs chat over on Telegram, I had more than a few beers in me that night, and I went off on people. I told them, you want to know how the war is going to start? I told them it's going to start when they come after people like me and others who they consider a threat. And they'll get a bunch of us because, they'll show up with MRAPs and 20 fucking people geared out, kicking in the door, killing the entire family, killing your dog. But there'll be some people that are going to get out. Some people that have planned ahead. Those people will then go active. That technically in history will be counted as the beginning of Civil War 2.0 or Revolution 2.0. I don't care what fucking term you want to use.
Well, that's when it starts working against them, because they're going to say, hey, we have a secret Santa list and we're checking it twice and we're getting people. And all the people that are like, shit, am I on that list? And they get a couple. Yeah.
Okay. So you get the few that do get away. Now, the few that do get away, you're going to have nonstop news coverage initially in the immediate area, then regional, then national. And they're going to talk about that militia violent extremist, that MAGA extremist, is killing cops who just came to question them. Now they're, over here and they're killing cops over here. They're going to demonize the hell out of that person in the media. And I outright told the people in my chats, if I'm one of these people, if I do somehow survive to make it to the woods, and I'm now fighting, I know that I'm going to be alone. I'm going to be by myself. I will not be able to count on anyone because of that demonization. People that say right now that, yeah, I'm going to be there. I'll be right beside you. You just got to give me that call. They won't show up. Because then for them, it's going to be, well, I still got bills to pay. I still have my family to take care of. So they're not going to show up. So then the few that do make it out in the woods, we're getting demonized. We're the ones actually fighting. And it could be Krisky, could be Bug Out, could be Ron, could be any of us that are in this situation. We'll be out there. We'll be fighting. We'll be by ourselves. No one's going to come to support us. No one's going to come help us. And that could go on for weeks before things get to a point where people in the area, the ones that said they were going to be there, they for sure are going to back you up. It could be weeks later or even a couple months later if you survive that long. Then they're going to say, you know what? Maybe they were right. Maybe I should go out there and help.
Well, yeah, and the it's going to be harder later, and really, like, how many movies were like this? Braveheart comes to mind here. If everyone in Braveheart that ended up standing would have stood in the beginning, that wouldn't even have been a movie. You know what I mean? Like, everybody would have just stood up and said, "Fuck that shit," and then England was gone. But that's not how it goes down, and this is the part I'm not really looking forward to. And it's going to be grueling. it's not going to be fun. And I'm all about having fun, you know.
Oh, none of this is ever going to be fun. That's why I did the Coming Civil War series. And I pointed out just how horrific this is going to be. And I guarantee what I have in there is going to be nothing compared to what we're actually going to see with our own eyes.
Well, it's
That's
not
an
going to be that.
excellent group of videos too, by the way. For those of you listening who haven't seen that, or it's not even as much seen because it's more audio, but that was excellent, man. I tell you what, that really turned me on because I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, and your more popular, just as far as widespread videos go, you had a lot of views on those, but they came up in the first few videos that I ever learned about you. So I saw those and I was like,
those are some of the only ones that YouTube ever promotes.
well, they make sense, man. It's like, if this really was to go down in today's society, it's going to be so much worse than even I, in my deepest, darkest imagination, can think of, because we're not ready for that. And if that's how I'm thinking, regular people are going to be aghast when they learn about this. So, yeah, you're on to something there.
Yeah. Let me throw this back up again. There's at the line above the shadow governance into the overt category, you start seeing the minor military and paramilitary actions. That's in your guerrilla warfare phase.
And that's where that would be the phase where the potential heads of the resistance would be getting rounded up. Is in that phase.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly what you're saying. And really what you guys are putting down on video and what needs to get pushed a little more, you guys are doing it, but I'm saying like the rest of the community needs to start picking it up, you know, being able to be dragged and dropped because the leaders are not going to be there. Like, it's guaranteed. There will the established leaders, the figureheads, the people that have sympathy of I'm not even calling it the right. I'm calling it the realistic. You know what I mean? Because the right gets kind of dumb too. You know, like I'm kind of in the middle there where like I engage in realism, and if you're an active consumer of realism, you can't go with this lunatic plan that's happening right now. And eventually it's like, by the time you're forced to take it to the field, as SG just said, the people that told you to go aren't going to be around anymore, you know? So getting those PD 51s and getting those comm plans in order and getting all that other stuff, having the equipment, having the skills, having the knowledge, and man, you know, we're going to have to hold some ground too. And that's really the challenge here, because you can't just go in the woods like in a movie. You know, ever notice in a movie nobody ever eats and nobody takes a shit? Isn't that crazy? But in real life,
hence why
the shitting is serious. Nobody ever does that.
And there's a lot of stuff, dude. There's a lot of stuff to cover. We're still on red dot sites and SUT and room entry, and we should be on a complete different paradigm by now. And we keep getting stuck at square one on the shit that like you're probably never going to do. I'm afraid.
Let me say this. Let me just interject. Right. I'm afraid as a YouTube content creator. Okay, so let's say, for example, like if we need a fucking example, we are currently in the situation where at some point very soon, and when I mean very soon, I'm putting that into perspective, between 30 days and 6 months to a year, potentially. I could be wrong. The only thing I've found that I'm really wrong about lately is timing. So yeah, it's possible. I could be fucking wrong with the timing. But I think in the very near future, we will need to address certain topics of weapons
procurement,
exploitation,
assemblies.
Make the things that you and I, as United States American civilians with no records, right? I have a concealed carry license. I have an SBR registered with the ATF. Right. I'm not happy about my decision to do that. I did it though. Right. So like I have guns. I do not have grenades or explosives. I don't know all the legalities with that. I'm assuming there's a fuckload.
At this
Right?
point, you need to ask
Do
yourself,
you
do I
want
have
me
a
to go
dog?
into
You
that
know,
stuff?
What I'm saying is, though, at some point, us using things like that or implementing potentially IEDs, if we are defending ourselves as a hypothetical society in a futuristic, without rule of law situation, right? Nothing that we're trying to get backlash on. I'm just saying, if we have to defend ourselves there, at some point you have to address how the fuck are we going to make this go bang and boom and that do that? Because we
Oh,
can't do it with these guns. And it's like
you mean
they
sort of
want
like
us to say it.
You mean sort of like my historic ordnance series?
Yeah, they want us to say it. They want us to go out of our way.
I just told you. Do you think
Yeah.
I haven't thought of this?
No, I know you've thought of it. You gentlemen here are more wise and have thought about this much more in depth and in advance than I have. I will concede that at face value.
My
100%. All three of you.
Well, basically, we're like farmers insurance. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
Yeah. No, that's why I'm here. I like you guys and I watch your content religiously.
My very, very first historic ordnance video was the Anzac jam tin grenade. And you know what? You can still do that nowadays. You don't know what that is?
I agree.
Go watch it. I'm saying this out there for people in the chats. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead, look it up. It should still be on YouTube. If you can't find it there, I know you can find it over on BitChute. And you know what? Over on BitChute, there's a lot more videos on that subject that aren't on YouTube.
For sure. I follow you on YouTube, but really besides lives and stuff, the only thing I'm gaining
there's people literally in the
links.
chat making comments of, who's this SG42? Does he have a channel?
Yeah.
I shit
Well, you're
you not,
super
they're
fucking
posting that
shadow
over
banned,
there.
bro.
Yeah, I know that.
no, it's
So
just he's such a boomer that he's been around so long that like they don't even like they scroll past. They're so used to scrolling past him that they don't even see him anymore.
I mean, I want people to be real. Like this, I feel like this disclaimer, not because it's like it has nothing to do with me. I'm just saying I've learned this in the past 6 months to a year. And you guys literally are going to laugh at me probably for saying this, but most people listening to this they don't understand this. These whole anarchy cookbooks, these other documents that you think you're going to get and hold on to if you buy them right now. So, I can have this and I'll be able to make like you're setting yourself up for disaster. And why wouldn't you? And if you are asking yourself, who is security guy 42, like fucking watch his channel, yo, and realize you are in so much deeper than you even realize. And I fell for it hook, line, and sinker. I've got these other documents of manuals and things like that have been published since the internet age, and it's like I'm just recently learning these have been potentially tampered with, so that if I go and make whatever it fucking says to make, I'm gonna maim myself, or like it's not gonna be good. So there is so much more to this. There's so much misinformation and they fuck with you thinking you're looking at misinformation. It's like, no, these people are doctoring everything from the ground up. Yeah. So be very careful. If you think you have a manual or you think you have some little and you're going to make some device or some stupid shit for when the time comes, not that we're advising anyone doing anything or anything like that. Just saying, if you mistake trusting some of this information that's out there, it is designed to hurt you or make you fail.
Okay, I can attest to that because I purchased a cookbook back in the early 90s when I was able to drive around myself. And I can attest those recipes are, like Krisky said, they are designed to hurt people.
Okay,
more or less you, the one doing it.
Let me get into this, okay? The Anarchist Cookbook. Okay, that's the one everyone still passes around online and recommends and all that shit. The only edition of that was real was the very first run of the very first edition. So you're talking back in the 1970s, and I guarantee you're never going to find a copy, because the copies of those that exist are so hoarded by the people that have them, they will never give them up. Now, after that first run came out, the federal government contacted the publisher and recommended, quote unquote, some changes. The changes that were done to that book were deliberately designed to cause whoever tries to do anything from that book to get injured in a way that they can be identified by law enforcement. And how do I know this? Because that's in fucking counterterrorism shit from the 1980s. I literally have a VHS of that stuff in my house here that says that that was done on purpose.
Well, they did a poor man
reason.
James Bond also.
Poor man's James Bond is the exact same way.
Yeah, yeah.
Now,
But there is a publication that is still pretty much on the level. It's the Black Book. Yeah, there's 3 volumes or 4.
I don't know much on that one. I've come across it once or twice. I have not checked into it much.
I've got them. I could try to dig one up and show you the cover if you want to see it, but or maybe I don't want to do that. I don't know. Minecraft.
Now, someone mentioned improvised munitions, incendiaries, booby traps.
Ragnar
Those,
Benson.
Or
Yes.
Don't get me started on Ragnar Benson. But the military manuals on improvised munitions and that stuff, for the most part, are still okay. I haven't gone through and tried the mixes on the stuff, obviously. But when I've read through the safety procedures on a lot of the stuff, it does kind of check out.
Can I get your opinion on something?
Okay.
Okay, so I've thought about this, and let me preface this by saying this is all I'm guessing here. I'm not going to do this. I'm not advising anyone to do this. What's the proper term? It's hyperbole, maybe? Yeah. I'm fucking around here.
Entertainment reasons.
Yeah, I'm just asking questions.
A thought exercise in theory. A thought exercise in theory.
Yes.
Right. So if I thought about this, I was like, man, I hear rumor mill has it that the ATF likes to kill dogs, right?
Yes.
So if
Stuff a fake dog full of tannerite and keep it right next to your door.
Bro, it's almost like you and I have talked about this. Yes, I thought about that exact thing. I was like, man, I could put a little planter here. It would be full of pre-mixed tannerite.
Just to point
bearings
out on that, when would they do their raid if they come after you? In the middle of the night, like
probably at 4 a.m. Yeah.
So that dog may not look realistic during the daytime, but in the dark, out of security lighting or just on the side of it.
Well, it doesn't even have to look like a dog. It could just literally be a planter with fake plants in it. And I could have pre-mixed tannerite in it, right? That's what I was thinking. And then I thought like, this will degrade.
Problem with tannerite is it's
hydroscopic.
Yeah, it'll suck the moisture out.
This will degrade over time, which is probably why it's not set pre-mixed, right? And then I was thinking, well, what else could I do?
It's also extremely dangerous when it's pre-mixed, but
yeah. And I was like, and I got to shoot it and everything. I was like, what else could I do? And I thought, I'm a former firefighter. I've been on a bunch of fires. How did all these fires start? What's
just for
really
1 second.
Fucking dangerous? Like these propane tanks. Who's putting propane tanks in planters?
Okay.
Should I say? This is hyperbole. I'm guessing.
Okay.
Let's just say there was a reason why we had to keep watch for propane tanks in Iraq.
Oh yeah.
I'm not advising it. Let me be clear. Okay. I am not telling anyone to do anything. I think I'm guessing. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm literally some idiot
Well,
just fucking around.
I think a good segue is let's just talk about how you
I'm trying to
preserve
help
rice.
Ron here. I'm sorry, my
Yeah.
friend.
The last thing that you want to do when you're preserving rice is to let moisture get to it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, my
and,
thing,
you know-
the whole point being this, to not even touch on anything that's going to be YouTube dangerous. If that is
We've gone
so
beyond
simple, yeah, if something like that is so simple and obvious to an idiot like myself, how many fucking hundreds of other things are obvious, right? So they cannot stop this. They cannot. It is the point being here that I'm getting at. Any attempt at stopping the regular person who disagrees with them, the tyrannical, infringement pushing globalists, there's nothing that they can do to prevent the numbers disagreeing with them. So logistically, if one person is nefarious and wants to use some planter, thing that they've come up with, all it takes is a few of those people, and it doesn't matter how many hundreds or thousands or millions of people they have to go after. They literally can't do it. It only takes a couple of them. So what the fuck is their plan if
I'm telling you,
they
dude,
get maimed and destroyed by a few, 5 or 10, right? What are they going to do then when there's still 1,000 people to go after?
these
Or
guys
1,000
make fun
raids?
of in the chats. All I hear is people making fun of boomers, right?
Sorry
But-
for
God, I'm
getting
so
this channel
sick of
strike. I'll
But,
pay you some money.
dude, it's going to be the boomers with nothing to lose they're looking at their savings, they're watching them drip to nothing, and they're sitting there on oxygen, and they're like, and then the ATF's going to go to their house. Those guys are going to be the ones that they're afraid of, believe it or not, because they have nothing to lose at that point.
Yeah, dude. Imagine if you were 70. What the
Yeah.
fuck do you care?
Most of it, I mean, put it to you like this. I mean, my dad, he's in his 70s. He's practically bedridden. He keeps saying to my mom, I'm going to get a gun. I'm going to blow my head out. It's because these boomers, like Bug Out, you were saying, they're in pain from medical procedures or their diseases that they've accumulated from old age or what have you. They want to die, but there's something in the back of their head. If I off myself now, I will get eternal damnation or something like that. So it's to the point they'll be doing the suicide by cop thing. So,
how easy would it be when they're just like coming now, available to everyone, hitting every door in the neighborhood? It's the Goon Squad,
Yeah.
I mean, and it's like I'm telling you, those old stay off my lawn dudes. They're like, you know what? Looking at my pension that got cut because the state decided that they're not doing that anymore. Which, by the way, the COOF was very nice to the state of New York because all those pension recipients just happened to die, and they just happened to put COOF patients in the old folks' homes. Whatever. Let's forget about that. But like, all these people are watching their pensions getting cut. They're looking at their retirement, and they got this much money left, and it's dwindling, and like they're going like, I don't have any time left. Like I literally am going to live beyond my means, and then what? Those people are like, they see that light blue UN MRAP come down the road, and they're going to turn their lights on and say, hey, stop here first. I got something for you. I'll play that game.
The people at some point will have to say, fuck you. That's the problem. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to, and I don't want to say that, right? Because I'm a YouTuber. I don't want to come out and be the guy saying, at this point, we stop and we start doing this. And this is the one thing they're looking for, right? That's a bad spot to be in. Especially if all eyes are on you. You do not want to be the guy starting the movement, to do something about it. And we're all waiting for that guy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So the problem is either one of two things is going to happen. They will continue to push until a guy becomes that guy. That sounded fucking retarded. Until someone is pushed beyond their means and says they're going to stand up, right? Or nobody does, and they have to
make one.
because they can't
Reluctant
not.
Messiah is the
Otherwise,
term.
they're the bad guys. Otherwise, they're striking first openly. They're striking first openly now, but people aren't looking. We're looking. We see all of it. We're like, you idiots. Is this not obvious? And people are like, what? What the fuck's going on? It's
Yeah,
like,
the
look over
term for
there,
that,
retard.
dude.
Like, there they are.
Yeah.
And they're not paying attention.
So
The
But
term
once-
is
So
a reluctant Messiah, a Messiah that's chosen by the opposition, a reluctant Messiah. That's
Yeah.
the
So-
like definition for that.
The
So-
whole thing is, it's going to happen. That's the problem. And I want people to accept that. It doesn't matter. People comment this all the time. And I'm right there with you. When you comment this, I am thinking the same thing. What do you suggest? We do nothing and let them. It's like, I don't want to do
you're
nothing.
doing
But if we do
nothing, you're just
something,
screwing
we're
yourself.
if we stand up and do something, that's what they want. They want us to get pissed because they're trying to piss us off. They're trying to fraction our emotions and overload the side of it that is angry, because it doesn't make any sense. They're fucking with kids. They're fucking with innocent people, right? They're fucking with my God-given rights. And what are we going to do? We're going to get mad about it. They want us to get fucking mad about it. I'm mad about it. I'm furious.
They want us to do something that they can throw on camera, even if it's just a fucking mock-up computer recreation. They want us to do it, and the reason for that is the fence sitters. And I keep saying this over and over again. Those people are more important than we realize. Because when shit kicks off, and I refer to it as the stupid, because we're all going to be fucking stupid if you want this stuff to begin. When the stupid happens, we will have to rely on the fence sitters, because you know why? They're the ones that are going to give us the food. They're the ones that are going to help take care of our injured, our sick, watch over families. Without them, we have no support. Why?
They're the only ones we're fighting for at this point, because without
Exactly.
them, we don't have anybody on our side except those we already account for, and that's not enough. We need the people in the middle.
A big
I'm a
focus,
retard too.
a big focus on my channel is logistics for a reason. Yeah, it's boring, but you know what? What the fuck is going to keep you alive in a fight? You
That's
need
why
to
I love your
eat
channel,
a
man.
lot more. You're going to have to eat every day, or at least every other day. You may not be pulling the trigger every day. Fuck, you may go multiple weeks between pulling triggers. Because believe it or not, a guerrilla spends more time doing reconnaissance and monitoring the enemy than they do actually hitting them.
I mean, let's be real. The people who don't believe what you just said, compare that to a GWAT veteran. Is a GWAT veteran pulling the trigger every single week? No.
Oh, fuck no. We spend most of the time sitting on our ass hoping not to get blown up.
It might be once or twice here and there. It might be 10 times in one day, once every 6 months. You never know. It's not it's not every day all the time like people think. That the combat side is very small. The logistical side is the name of the game.
Well, look at the U.S. military. You only have like 10% of the force that actually fights. The other 90% is involved with support, logistics to support that 10%.
That's where the disconnect between civilian LARPer types and the actual people who understand what has to happen in order to fight. Because yeah, while some people will fight and they will do combat actions and whatever is involved in that, there's 10 times that amount trying to make sure that is even able to go down. And that is something that people cannot realize. They think, I need this light on my rifle, and I need to be doing this. It's like, no, dog, you don't even need to be concerned about half the shit. You need to be concerned about how you can get to the next phase of your life 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, that's what pisses me off the most in the militia movement. And I guarantee this was caused by the feds. The whole thing of, well, you got to obsess over your gear. You have to have the latest Navy SEAL looking bullshit for your ammo pouches. You have to have the latest super expensive fucking light on your rifle. Oh, you don't have night vision? Well, you're not going to be able to fight without night vision. Oh, you don't have this type of radio? Well, you're not going to be able to talk to anybody.
Oh, you had to bring up the radio.
Yeah, I know. I did that for a reason.
The night vision one, though,
it
you know,
just
he didn't bring that up for a
pisses
reason.
me
That's
off.
still a huge one.
That just pisses me off. People are more concerned about the smallest bullshit that isn't gonna fucking matter. You need to be concentrating on making sure you have the food in the field. You need to make sure you have the medical supplies in the field. Guess what? That fucking IFAC is probably not going to last past one engagement. And if you survive past that one engagement, guess what? You're probably going to have to restock that IFAC. Well, do you got the materials in the field to be able to do it? Because you're not going to be able to go home and get it.
People are pretending that they're going to go out and they're going to survive engagements using IFACs and have more further on engagements that are so mission specific that they are changing the battlefield. These people don't realize you fucking take one bullet in any one of these, not even you, dog, your friend. You are fucked. These people don't realize how serious. This is not a fucking game. I know it sounds like a game. They're listening to me now and they're like, this guy, I don't even know what he looks like. He's just talking into my AirPods. No, this is not a fucking game. You will die. All of our families will die. We do not want this to take place. This has to be prevented at all costs. This war on our homeland has to be fucking prevented. And if by God it must take place, if we lose, you will never see your family again.
Well, what does winning mean? That's the other part, you know?
Excellent point.
It's not like the credits roll and then, you know, everything's great. Like, look at the Reconstruction years in the Civil War, for example. You know, these veterans like somehow survived 5 years of the most brutal conflict that World War I will give it a run for its money. Don't get me wrong, but like probably the worst conflict that this country's ever seen was the Civil War, because both sides were Americans, first of all, you know. But right after that, those same people couldn't find jobs. They were poor. They you know, I mean, it was like they talk about getting shafted, you know. And imagine being a Confederate, like you're like states away from your home, you know, and nobody's giving you a ride, you know.
Here, Ron.
This one?
Yeah.
If you look on YouTube, most people's videos about rucksacks and assault packs, most people only carry like a day's food and water. Now,
I still get contacted by militia telling me that they're so pissed off with people in their unit because they're literally carrying 3 magazines and they think that's all they need to carry is just 3 magazines. That they think that 24 hours worth of food is enough because, hey, you know, when that's up, I'll just go back to the house and get some more.
Wrong.
I've gone into this so much. The fucking Viet Cong model is not going to work anymore. They know who we are. They know we're willing to fight. So you know what? They are either going to come get you in the beginning, or they're going to talk to your neighbors and get them to rat you out when you do come back home to get that stuff.
Yep. You bring up a good point, which is the Athenian approach. Everyone needs to have a little bit or a lot of every category. You know, you want to try to be a well-rounded aspect here. Like, you are your own supply system, you know?
Yes. And that's how we have to look at it. That's why I push caching in the field as much as you can.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to go home. Don't you realize that? Every time that you go home, you put your family in danger. You need the enemy to concentrate on you in the field. And only you in the field.
So,
Here's another thing: the crazy SF 10-inch rifles and stuff, and the 3 magazines that you were just talking about before. That's going to be the loadout of the old lady that is gardening all day. You know, that's not going to be the cool guy loadout anymore. You know,
that's not the loadout for a person who's in the field.
That's not the rifleman's loadout. That's the special category. You know what I mean? And the carpenter is going to have 3 mags and a rifle next to his workshop there in case he has to QRF and try to help somebody or something, you know, because I really think that none of this is going to happen unless you hold some real estate and you can defend it. If you can't defend an area, you're not, none of this is going to happen, you know, none of it. So like people need to start working together, because if they don't, this is all a pipe dream, really, to be honest.
And I agree with that down there.
Yeah.
What D-Base said. When I went to the desert, I personally carried 10 magazines. Actually, 10. Because I had my 6 on my LBV. I had 3 in a mag pouch on my hip, and I had the 1 in a rifle. There was other guys that were with us that were running just 7. And we had some people that were carrying like 16. You know, it all just depended on what you were expected to do. You know, were you going to be the one that actually went in and checked stuff out, or were you going to be the one sitting on the vehicle? If you were the one sitting on the vehicle, you usually had 7 magazines. But if you were actually away from it, you carried way more than 7 magazines. And I seen pictures of guys in the fighting in Fallujah. They were walking around with 20 plus magazines on their shit. And that had to be heavy as hell.
Yep.
The only way they got away with it is because they had vehicles to haul them from one place to the other. A guerrilla can't do that. You know, 20 some magazines, that's a shitload of ammo, and it weighs a hell of a lot. But you're going to need more than those 3 mags. You're going to need more than those 7 mags. So,
yeah. Yeah, I was moving around some a can of Fat 50 mags, about 30 mags of 300 blackout, and just the 150 grain of 900 rounds. Oh crap, that's heavy. So let's try and finish this out. Risky, you were talking about what you were talking about earlier about people coming to the houses. That would probably be under the large-scale military or the minor military and paramilitary actions.
Yeah, that's more of the minor. Large scale, You're talking at that point, they're
the blue helmets.
The large scale military ops at that point, you're thinking of Vietnam search and destroy or sweep and clears. They're taking over a large area and methodically checking everything inside there. Like you're taking over an entire small town. That falls under the large scale.
So, all right.
Or entire geographic areas have like-mindedly decided. Like, imagine I'm just being hypothetical here, but imagine the state of Louisiana says, nope, we're not playing this shit anymore. We're out. And you can see it. If you look at the laws, you already know who's going to be on one side, and you never really know who's going to be on our side. But like New York, Illinois, California, Oregon, Washington, maybe, you know, they're like more goons, more oppression. Sign me up. That we hate police, but we sure do love goon squads. You know, like it's a split personality. I don't even understand how people can identify with that, but it's been very tricky. And if you isolate any of those beliefs that they have, they don't coincide with the rest of their beliefs. They hold each belief separately, like, and they're not connected, you know, where we operate off of logic, and all of our beliefs have to resonate with our other beliefs. We have to be in unison. It has to be like a homogeneous sort of like brick that we say, okay, this is what we are. That's not how they work. And they can change this shit on the fly. Like, look at Elian Gonzalez and look at where they were at on the Elian Gonzalez story and look at where they're at now. I mean, they've completely turned on a dime. And
I guarantee most of the people in the chat don't even know who Elian Gonzalez is anymore.
Yeah.
probably, but look
My
at
man
research
brought
Joe
fucking
Biden.
Elian Gonzalez into the chat. Are you kidding me? That is
Do you remember
top-notch
him?
bug out. Yeah, in Miami or wherever
Yeah.
it was.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he came on the boat. Yeah, they got a
Yep.
picture of him with a guy with an MP9 or MP5 rather. Yeah, I remember it.
Right.
Yeah.
The
He
Clinton
was
days.
his mom died bringing him to the United States. His family in Cuba was exploited by Fidel Castro to get him sent back, and the Clinton administration sided with Castro. Elian was given off to relatives, like a aunt and uncle, if I remember correctly, and they literally sent in Customs and Border Patrol to raid the fucking house. There was people outside that were there to prevent him from being taken. Well, when Border Patrol showed up, they just tear gassed everybody. Fucking everyone got soaked in fucking CS. And then they just walked inside, grabbed him out of his aunt's hands, drug him off, tossed him on a plane, and sent him to fucking Cuba.
Doesn't sound like the same people, does it?
Nope.
Pretty wild.
It's a heartwarming story, isn't it? About immigrants and the great freedom travels that they come across trying to get to the United States. Excellent.
You could maybe say that Elian
Clintons would
Gonzalez
love
was a dreamer. Maybe he was a dreamer, or maybe he was a bad dreamer, you know? We'll never
Yeah.
know, because they didn't believe in that shit back then. They do now, though. Now they do.
Yeah. Let's see. All right. I want to throw this up. Let's see.
That shit made me so mad with Elian Gonzalez. I cannot believe we just went there. I haven't thought about that in 8 years, at least.
Yeah.
Well, shit, that was back in the 90s, so it's been well over 20 years since I last thought about it.
Yeah. 25 to almost 30, maybe.
I think that was, 98 when that happened?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, because Robot Chicken did a spoof on that. But anyways, like I said at the beginning of this live stream, Kaz threw up something about ways to unconventional warfare. You have your infrastructure, communications, demoralization, subversion, economic, and then full invasion. Like I said, I contacted Doc Larson, and he kind of set me straight, kind of gave me a lot of books to read. I ain't got time to read all that, so I did a simple dive. Security guy, you probably think, yeah, you called it earlier back before we started. I kind of go, I'm a little autistic when it comes to this, doing the research thing. Basically, this is what I think. Our current situation, we have been under attack for so long, we haven't really realized it because it's more of the frog in a boiling pot situation. For our infrastructure, our infrastructure is destroyed. Our roads, bridges,
Our industry.
Yeah, factories, which is on there. Communications, that's been under attack. We talked about that earlier. YouTube, Facebook, etc. We've anybody who doesn't tote the line gets deleted. Bug out. You had that happen personally. Demoralization. First thing I could think of is when Hillary called anybody who wasn't the card carrying or little red book carrying Democrats. She called us a basket of deplorables. So subversion, QAnon. That's what I think. That was infiltration on that. Economic, we have the inflation. More recently, the bank meltdown. And Janet Yellen's talking about going to the CBDC, which is central bank digital currency. that if once that happens, folks,
It's all over.
it is all over. Um, you can't buy ammo anymore without anybody knowing. If you buy it in cash, it's bad enough if you order.
Not if they get rid of cash, though.
What's that?
Not if they get rid of cash.
That's what the CBDC leads to, is
Yeah.
the complete elimination of paper or coinage.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the
So not
ultimate
only-
goal. So don't let people get confused. This is not like some possibility. This is what they want to happen.
Right.
It's not like we get past this. It's like, oh, we avoided this CBD. No, they will implement this. This is their
Yeah.
way of cracking down on us, so they have complete control over every single aspect of every transaction you will ever have.
Yeah. Now, for those who don't know, the central bank digital currency, look at the digital yuan that China has. It's also based on social credit score. If you've ever seen episodes of Black Mirror, some chick's credit score goes down because she was sitting next to or was talking to somebody who had a low social credit score, and there's people in China who can't even get a train across to the next town in China because they have a low social credit score. All the stuff we post on Facebook or any kind of social media, that's part of your social credit score. Another thing that they're doing in Europe is if you buy too much meat, you will eat the bugs. Yeah, no, that's coming. They're actually pushing it in Australia. Australia and Canada are the two test markets for the New World Order, the Davos group. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to throw this out there. Contacting your congressman ain't going to stop it.
Nope.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. It's just
whether you
depends
like
on
it
how
or not,
fast.
it's going to happen. So what's the one thing you can do after you hear all this stuff? What do we keep telling you? Prepare. Stock up. Because once this shit starts, you're going to find out you didn't stock enough.
Yeah.
And great example to think on this. Think of tribulation from Revelations in the Bible. How
The mark
long
of
is
the
that
beast.
supposed to happen? 7 years. Every movie you see relating to this that comes out of the Christian movement, they never stock 7 years worth of food. They can't, because that's too much to have on hand.
Yeah.
You're never going to have enough. Stock as much as you can. Cache as much as you can. Don't have everything in one place. Get it now, because once they kick off CBDC and all the other little shit that they're trying to push through right now, you're not going to be able to get it then.
No.
So where are my big homesteaders at? Because the unlikely mayor of the shit hit the fan apocalypse Thunderdome town, those big homesteaders that are out there getting their toes and their hands dirty, they're going to be the ones that have the area that people need to go to. The people that are running livestock now, the people that have been doing gardening to small to large to medium scale farming, people that have been messing around with aquaponics, but people that are learning how to do it with no inputs. Like, you get breeds of cattle that don't require grain. You get the ones that graze. They don't put out as much, but you don't have to put anything into them. There are people out there that are doing this now. We need to find these people. Those people need to find us. We need to start making a relationship, because that's going to be where we need to go. Because, man, 7 years? How long was the Great Depression before it was over? Who knows? There could be an event, and I'm saying, preps wise, you want to have ideally a year's worth of stuff, right? But a year isn't going to do it. A year is only just going to buy you a year until some kind of an economy could be established again, legitimate or otherwise. you're going to have the homesteads. You're going to have to start doing food production organically, and you're going to have to defend those places because people that don't have it are going to try to take it. You know, we're worried about Big Brother, man. We're going to be fighting displaced people more than we're fighting any bad guys. You know, we're going to be fighting desperate people that made bad choices. That's the real enemy here, and you don't want to be one of them. Like, the best thing you can do to help everybody out is to not be one of them. Have your shit together, because if you're conking out in 4 days, the shit hasn't even started yet. People haven't even networked in 4 days. Like, 4 days is nothing in the scheme of things when this goes down. Like, everyone's going to have a mass exodus from all the big cities, and it's going to go out like a refugee cone, right? And man, I'm in South Florida, and there's only one way to go, and that's north. And believe me, I'm not excited about this. So when I talk about it, I'm not like some dude that's like whacking off in the Captain D's bathroom thinking about it. I do that about other things, but not about this. But man, I'm going to have an entire giant city just stampeding through my backyard, pretty much, wondering where the Cheez-Its are, you know? This is really bad news for me, man. And it's going to be like that everywhere. So everybody says, where am I going to go? And then they think about that state forest or that national park that they went to when they were a kid. But everyone else is thinking that too. You got to find a real place that's tucked away. And this stuff needs to happen now. I mean, like, we need to be finding these people today, because it's going to be too late later, because they're going to cut all these comms off. These comms that we have. Can you imagine that 15 years ago, nobody had these things that we're talking on right now? And we've gotten so used to them so fast. And the first time I ever had a smartphone was 2013, right? And it's 10 years I've had a smartphone, and I can't imagine life without one. That's just 10 years. But man, how long have they been out? A little longer than that. We've been revolutionized by these things, and they can turn them off on a dime. I mean, they can turn them off tomorrow. They could turn me off right now if they wanted to, you know? Yeah, this isn't enough. Figuring it out when it happens is not going to be enough. You have to have it figured out before it happens. You need to have your maps. You need to have all your pace plans written down in a binder. Like, you have to be ready and basically willing. Pretend an EMP is real. And I think one reason why a lot of these preparedness people push EMPs so much, maybe it's not an EMP, but maybe you just can't have an electronic signature, period, because they'll track you. That's just as bad as an EMP. You're going to have to leave your phone behind when you take off. You know, you're going to have to leave that shit where you're supposed to be to buy yourself some time to get the F out of Dodge, you know? I don't know.
Well,
Anybody got anything on that?
Yeah, to throw into that, back in the 90s, when we were transferring over to the Delta model of Singars, this was the model right before the ASIPS radio, which was the radio that was used in Iraq and Afghanistan. When we got trained on the Deltas, they told us at that time, you could be radio direction finded if you transmitted longer than 3 seconds. You didn't even have to say anything into the mic. Just pressing that talk switch on a radio, if it's longer than 3 seconds, they can lock in exactly where you're at. And this was over 20 years ago.
It was. My brother actually was in signals intelligence in the Marine Corps, so I know a little bit about this.
Yeah, and look at what happened with Ukraine over this last year. How they've been able to identify unit positions because of poor ComSec, people transmitting for just a little too long. And then they can identify, hey, he's right here, drop an artillery strike on it. Oh, someone's using a cell phone over here. Well, there's no town over here. It must be soldiers. Drop a rocket strike on it. And it's both sides that are doing it. It's Ukrainians and the Russians. And their shit is going to be older models than what we have.
Well, the model in this case isn't so specific, and you're getting into the frequency hopping aspect of this.
I wasn't going to jump into that because the average person can't afford it or get it because, hey, it's illegal for civilians to have.
Right, but what I mean is, that delineation that you were talking about was they were talking about frequency hopping, where like before they perfected the frequency hopping, it was 3 to 5 seconds, and then it went to like a little longer. But the thing is like a sophisticated direction finding unit. The more of them that there are, and the more spread out that they are, the lower that time gets. And what my brother was telling me was like, if they had 5 or 6 units out there, it didn't matter if you keyed the handset at all; they knew where you were. You know, so forget 3 seconds. I mean, if they're trying to dial in on you and they know about where you are, there is no time. The second that you break it, frequency hopping, single channel, plain text, encrypted, doesn't matter. Just breaking the squelch is enough to send that beacon up, and all those units will get a straight line. That's why they call it triangulate. You really have to have 3 of them to do it right, because the 3, where those 3 lines intersect, that's where the person is, right? But if you have 4 or 6 or 8 of them, you can do it so much faster, because an incomplete line on a 2-second broadcast, let's say, if you have extra units that can like, basically you can make a better hypothesis off of a 2-second. You can't say anything in 2 seconds. Data bursts. And that's where data burst started getting into play. And the man, Krisky's probably like going like, man, I'm gone. And now they're talking about data burst. But that was why they started getting on data burst, because it was basically text messaging through military radios, SMS texting. It was exactly the same thing. But it was like, we'll take 5 paragraphs of stuff, make it digital, shoot it through the radio. It'll go out in a second and a half, and then it'll stop, and then maybe we won't get blown up. But then the whole ant farm concept, which I did you guys mess with antenna farms, or was that just like battalion and regiment comm units, where you put all your antennas like a mile away and you run all that line out to the actual units? So even if somebody does screw up, you just get your antennas blown up instead of everybody, you know?
I've mentioned it in videos because that was an old Viet Cong tactic and North Vietnamese tactic.
Still works. Yeah, still works.
Okay.
But,
all right. Let me throw this the last
but
one.
I just want to mention this. Okay. Think on this. You're probably saying, well, there isn't that many signals intelligence units out there. You know, there isn't enough of the trucks that can be located to do this type of thing. Did you ever consider the possibility that they could do this using cell towers? Having a single unit that's connected into the cell towers on an entire section of a state, using those as their detectors. Think about it.
I mean, they're already doing it.
I guarantee they have already thought about it. They've already come up with the procedures.
And especially if you're in a more urban environment, they have those stingrays that just gets everybody's. And once they got the person they're looking for, they got their signal frequency, and just more of a, all right, tap into all the towers and find out when that signal pings again. That's where that person's at. I've seen it in action several times. Local sheriff's department has used it to catch drug dealers. And apparently whenever somebody asks, oh, how'd you get this information? Apparently Stingray has a non-disclosure agreement with law enforcement, and not too many people have asked about, how you found out about it. Was it a Stingray? You know, that's something if any of your phones do get tapped.
Yeah, and this all this does fall into Krisky's subject, so I know he's swearing right now.
Yeah. All right, let's kind of wrap things up. It's getting late. Last item, then boots on the ground, UN or foreign troops? I think both. Iraq veteran 8888 posted a video about, and it was in the Telegram, security guy, your Telegram.
Yeah, I linked to it right before the live stream. Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I posted it in the chat earlier. They will, especially the newer crowd. They do not know the Constitution. So,
and I'm going to get into this now. Just to backtrack, with the Summer of Love stuff, why do we think this is going to happen this summer? you're going to be looking at the ones that are going to be starting the attacks, starting the riots and that stuff. It's going to start with Antifa. It's going to start with the radicalized transgenders, not your average transgender. We're talking, there is a section out there that is being radicalized, being told that they are being genocided every day. And the people that doing it are Nazis. And the picture they use for Nazis is a traditional Christian family. I think, but they're still going to have to rely primarily on Antifa because of numbers. Antifa cannot go to the field, so to speak, until the end of May, because Antifa still draws the bulk of their quote unquote combat power from high school kids and college kids. So they're not going to start kicking their shit off until the end of May when schools let out. The first place I think we're going to start seeing stuff is probably around Atlanta because of the Cop City stuff. Antifa has not forgotten. They're still furious over that. So.
Well, I mean, how dare they, right?
Yeah, they, only one of their people, shot at the police, and then the police shot back to defend themselves and smoked them. And,
Well,
they lionized the fuck out of that asshole. And
why are you bringing up old shit?
Antifa effectively declared war when that guy got killed. They're just waiting until the weather warms up, and then they're going to the field, and they're really going to start tearing shit up down in Georgia.
An Antifa guy shot at the cops. Why you got to bring up old shit, man?
Well, it's old to us, but they have a long.
No, what I mean is,
to that,
like,
I know
how their aggression should be buried under headlines, but like the whole thing about their memory, the January 6th thing proves to me that they have a memory, So
yeah,
that makes me know
us that don't. Yeah.
Before January 6th, I was like, maybe they're just retarded. I'm not joking here. I'm like, maybe they're just like such an easily programmed people, and they have the memory of a goldfish, and they just believe anything they tell them. But the fact that they keep hanging on to this January 6th thing, I'm like, so they do have a memory. So now they are purposely choosing to believe or not believe things. And it's really changed my perception of the whole liberal mindset, like of anything. I'm sure there's probably some good ones out there. Don't get me wrong. There's probably some good liberal that's out there gardening that says we should have the ability to provide for the rest of the world and feed them and use all of our money to take care of everyone. And they mean it in a good way. But let's face it, like the reality of what we've been seeing from this crowd, they're malicious. They're becoming the new brown shirts.
Oh, yeah.
We are looking at a tidal wave of, I don't know what it's going to be called because it hasn't happened yet, but the next Nazi word, how Nazi's such a bad word? Well, whatever these guys are going to become is going to be worse than that word. They just don't have a word yet,
Yeah. And for those that forgot, in 2020, if I can remember this fully, the average Antifa cell or platoon, whatever they called it, was like 10 or so people being led by one person. Now, the 10 or so, they were literally just cannon fodder. They were the goldfish types. And the leader had to literally be there and steer them in the direction that they were needed to go. Whether it was to burn one particular store or to attack that particular police car or to attack this particular spot on the fence outside a courthouse. That squad leader, along with, what the fuck was it, like 4 or 5 others, reported to someone that was basically a company commander. That company commander handled that entire operation in that area, and then he was taking his information from someone who was essentially a battalion commander who was in charge of 3 to 5 groups or 3 to 6 different groups operating in an area at one time. That battalion commander was operating typically out of a van. This van was equipped with communications. They were equipped with scanners. They were monitoring the police radios. They were monitoring Patriot radios, whoever was in the area. And then he was sending out his information. The information was passed out by a runner on a bicycle. That runner was sent out, told to go to this company commander over here. This is how you're going to identify them. And they did have markings to identify who they were in the crowd. There was like certain colors of bike helmets or stickers on the back of the bike helmet, or, you know, a certain scarf or armband, you know, whatever it was for that particular engagement. That's what we seen them. Logistically, they were being supported from the outside. We know that. You had different groups that were supposedly providing free kitchens of food to the Antifa members. These delivery vans or food trucks were not just carrying food, they were also carrying the next batch of weapons for Antifa. So if they needed more Molotovs, they were hidden inside those food trucks when they came up there. If they needed more ammunition because they were shooting people, you didn't hear about that much, but yeah, that was going on. That was also inside that food truck. And the police would let the food truck come through because, hey, it's just someone providing food. They never bothered to check inside. It wasn't till later in the summer of 2020, they started checking these food trucks. And that's when they started noticing, hey, you're carrying around 4 or 5 gallon jugs of gasoline. You got a box full of rags here, and you have 2 boxes full of empty bottles over here. That was generally what was seen in 2020. I got a feeling over the last 2-3 years, they've improved on that, because there's always lessons learned. You know, most of these guys are idiots, but the people at the top, you know, they have half a brain. So what what their current organization is now, I can't exactly say.
Do you remember that golden clip of video that was buried, but it was 3 or 4 really nerdy looking Antifa guys, and they walked right in front of a security camera from like a bank or something, and the one guy pulled out a gun and he fired 4 or 5 shots at somebody. They ran into the parking garage that they were right in front of. They changed their clothes and took their Antifa shit off and came out in like regular clothes and just strolled on by while the police were responding to the gunshots, and just walked right past them. And
that's old terrorist tactics. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like they that was caught on video, and I want to say it was like, man, I was in the Aleutian Islands when I saw it, so it had to have been like 2019, maybe, you know, right when those riots were really kicking up, you know. But end of 2018, perhaps, like right around the COOF, you know, that time period. When did that happen? Was that was 19?
This was
2019 then.
2020.
So 2019, 2020, right around that time. And then that video came out, and I was like, well, that's a slam dunk. They got these guys. They're going to go and they're going to systematically take these dudes down, and they're going to get eradicated. But they never did it. And I'm like, how is it that like these feeds are going around and I can catch them?
Because the people controlling the cops were helping out Antifa.
Yeah.
Which we're seeing now. If you look at channels like Antifa Watch on Telegram or Andy No on YouTube, you know, they're pointing this out. You have these people that were caught on video doing illegal acts. They were throwing IEDs. They were throwing Molotovs. They were shooting people. They still are not charged with a crime, because the system is protecting them, because they need them to get a goal. That goal, anarchy and chaos, so that they can present the solution to you.
Yep.
Yeah. And that goes right back to the prosecutors. If you have a piece of shit prosecutor, you have a piece of shit area. Your geography has just been turned into an absolute slab of shit, because if they just refuse the case, like a big city, and actually Cincinnati's a good one, because they had a pretty decent prosecutor for a while, and there was an immigrant guy that owned a store, and a dude came in and robbed him, and then a week later the dude came in and robbed him. A week later the guy came in and robbed him. The dude bought a gun. Guy came in and robbed him. He pulled the gun out. The dude ran. He ran outside of the store and he fired like 2 or 3 shots as he ran away. The prosecutor on AM radio in an interview, he was like, if I prosecute this guy, I'm going to put him in jail for 10, 15 years. He's like, I'm not taking the case. And they were like, well, what happens when you don't take the case? And he says, well, if the state wants to prosecute him, they have to hire a prosecutor because I'm not doing it. They have to pay for all the legal fees. It's an extra expense. He was like, the state won't do it. The state never picks up the case because their budget doesn't allow for it. Well, you get a liberal prosecutor that's on their team, and they're like, I just won't take the case, and the state can't afford to take it. It never goes anywhere. To be honest, if I was an activist and I was a Mel Gibson or some guy who was trying to make a difference, I would fund the states to prosecute those people. I'd say, I'll pay for it. Why isn't Trump doing that, for example? He's got all this money. Start funding the prosecutions. I'll find a prosecutor. I'll find some shit hot lawyer out there that needs a break. Here you go, man. Take this guy down. Here's the video. Shot at somebody, changed his clothes, came out of the parking garage, boom, slam dunk. There you go. Take it. Start building some wins. Get a portfolio going. Nobody's doing that.
9 chances out of 10, it's the administration, like SG said, the administration in the police departments. It goes only up so far, and oops, and it's gone. So,
and I want to mention this. I still get people that get after me and my comments about, well, in 2020, you patriots did absolutely nothing while Antifa burned the cities. Yeah, they burned their cities.
Yeah.
I literally was in 2020 over on My Militia talking with different militia commanders across the country. And everyone was talking about, well, what should we do? They're burning the cities. And we all came to the consensus of let them, because they're burning their cities. And we said, if they came out of those cities and they moved into the rural areas, that's when we confront them. And you know what? Antifa tried. Remember, Kaz has that, or had the video of when they showed up in Bethel, Ohio.
Oh yeah,
Antifa showed up there.
Let me tell you about Bethel, Ohio.
Okay.
You don't get there by accident. You know what I mean? It's literally like you take an old state route. You go out of the city and you just keep driving until you're like, am I lost? Once you start feeling like that, you start seeing some little old timey general store type deals, and then you're like, okay, maybe I'm somewhere. Dude, the first time I went to Bethel, Ohio, I was like, I was a city kid, I was from Cincinnati. I didn't even know that shit was out there. I had lived there my whole life. I had no idea that place was there. And there were people from all over the country going to Bethel, Ohio. Really? Yeah. A dude that lives there didn't even know that Bethel, Ohio existed. And then all these weird Seattle and Portland MFers are going there. That was not an accident, dude. That was not an accident. That was scripted too.
Yeah. And look at the chartered bus they had.
Yeah. But my understanding on it is Antifa showed up. And then they looked out the windows and they seen hundreds, if not thousands, of rednecks and patriots out there waiting for them. They got back on their vehicles and they left right away.
Yeah.
And that was not the only time that happened. That stuff was happening across the country. When Antifa tried to leave the cities and go into the rural areas, that is when the militia, the patriots, and the rednecks showed up. And they turned around and went back home. It wasn't reported on the news because nothing got burned. No one got hurt. Remember the old saying, if it bleeds, it leads. No one was bleeding in those situations, so then it never happened. So people across the country had no idea that was occurring. And I want
Yeah.
to point this one out too. Gettysburg. Remember the talk that was coming out of Antifa that they were going to go to Gettysburg. They were going to desecrate Confederate graves. They were going to rip down statues. We took it credible. Why? Because that's exactly what they were doing near the big cities. So when they showed, you had people show up at Gettysburg waiting for them. I still to this day believe Antifa's advanced teams, their scouts who are not dressed as Antifa, they're dressed as normal people, dressed as patriots. When they showed up there and they seen what was waiting for them, they got on those cell phones and they called back and said, hey, maybe we should rethink this. So then those busloads of people, which I had heard was on the way to Gettysburg, they turned the fuck around and went home. And then Antifa did the thing after that of, oh, well, we were just trolling the Patriots. This was just a joke we played on them on Reddit. Ha, ha, ha. Stupid Patriots. What would have happened if the Patriots weren't there? I guarantee they would have got off those buses and they would have tore up that cemetery.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But, you know, the other thing, like, I just kind of had a fragmented thought here, but like, if you're from a small town, it's not worth as much to them either. So when you have solidarity like Bethel, Ohio did, it's not worth it for them. It's not worth it for them to take the hits because the same protester that's at Bethel, Ohio is going to be in Chicago a week from now. They're going to be a month later. They're going to be in like Albany, New York. Yep. And, you know, it's like, it's the same people. They're getting paid, they're getting funded, and they're on tour. They're on a deployment. That's what they're doing, you know?
Yeah.
And, do you want to risk an injury in a Bethel, Ohio, because all these people are like, we'll take those bets, we'll take those odds, you know? And you're like, well, we're going to have to fight these guys, you know? And they're like, well, now if this was LA, or if it was like Portland and all the cameras were here and everybody was paying attention, well, we'd have to get out here and fight these people. But you know what? There's 2 reporters here. It's not worth it. It's not worth it for us. The victory, the juice isn't worth the squeeze to them, and they move on. And that's where, like, you know, you can't control what your community is, obviously, you know, I mean, and what's funny here is, like the area that I live in, man, I'm driven more by Latino influence than anything, you know. The area I live in is like, man, if you don't speak Spanish, it's hard to get by here, you know. But they're not interested in that shit, you know. And that kind of like makes me immune to all this stuff. When I hear about Antifa and BLM and all this stuff, like, dude, I don't know the first thing about it anymore because I don't see that shit anymore. But now your Latin type issues, boy, I'll tell you, I'm the canary in the mine shaft. I'll let you know, like, before it even hits the news. You know what I mean? So,
well, let's throw this in here. Now, they will not conduct large operations in rural areas. But what if this year they send out 1 or 2 people to hit a Hispanic church, shoot it up during a church service, and then talk about this is MAGA country or something like that?
Yeah.
Or they shoot up a synagogue and they're dressed in body armor. They have the red MAGA hat on.
Oh, SG.
And remember,
when you say synagogue,
symbol. Okay.
When you say synagogue, you have to say again after that because they already did that once, if you remember.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just throwing that out there. That's the type of attacks we could see in more rural areas outside the big cities. You know, Antifa will not come out and do a major operation in a rural area. But if they come out and say hit the utilities, or they want to make a appearance in the news, they come out and shoot up a church. You know, the shooter is actually a militarized tranny who's given, you know, patriot looking apparel, go in there, shoots up the church, and they're going to do it because, hey, I'm fighting Nazis. You know, I can see that type of stuff happening and starting this year. starting next month when the schools let out.
Yep.
Because we have look at Nashville. Okay. What has happened with Nashville? We've now completely forgotten that 6 Christians were killed. The fucking media is concentrating on the goddamn shooter and how the shooter was oppressed. That's the victim of that shooting.
Yeah, that's
And
wild,
they're
man.
still pushing that shit. And people are going to believe it. Why? Because it's going to be pounded into them repeatedly.
Yeah.
But Bud Light is delicious, though. Let's just get that out in the open.
Oh,
no,
dude.
I'm gonna use the line from Black Velvet where Dennis Hopper is going to the young yuppie, Pabst Blue Ribbon. Not that.
Oh yeah,
Heineken shit.
I'm all there for PBR.
I
You know
you
what's funny? Do you remember the hipster movement, dude?
Yes.
That wasn't too long ago, right? Okay.
Yeah.
What's funny is Rolling Rock and Pabst Blue Ribbon was what I drank in the bars because, like, you'd go, can I get a beer? And they'd go, that'll be $17. And you're like, whoa, shit, do you have anything cheaper? They're like, well, we got PBR and Rolling Rock. That's free. You know, I'm exaggerating here. And I'd go, well, I'll take a PBR then, you know? And
The reason I drink PBR is that is the cheapest in the store. You know, above the white cans that just say beer on the side.
Generic.
And it was $6.06 for a 6-pack. And I was there along with the older guys than me. You know, we're walking up to the counter with a 6-pack, you know, and we're counting out our pennies on the counter for it. So it's considerably more than that now. I think the last time I got a 6-pack of PBR, it cost me $8
Oof.
Yeah,
well, the hipsters caught on to it.
Thank you, Mr. Potato Head.
No, it's the hipsters, man. The hipsters, like, they're all trust fund rich kids.
Oh,
and
they're
they wanna,
drinking that Blue Moon shit. And
no, but they emulate the poor people, man. I would go to these bars, and the bars I used to go to got invaded by these rich guys pretending like they were poor. And they would, like, drink all your beer, and the prices went up everywhere, and they didn't tip. And, like, it was crazy because they were going, poor people don't tip. And it's like, motherfucker, poor people tip really good. It's really funny, like, their stereotypical analysis of what a poor person would be like, you know, because, like, they were totally wrong. But anyway, like,
And they're
they
left.
destroyed PBR in the city. It was like PBR became a premium beer in the city, and I was like, how did this happen? And then Rolling Rock, which, like, I never liked Rolling Rock, but Rolling Rock was usually for the same price of a regular beer. You could get that Rolling Rock bottle that was twice the size, you know, and it was the same price. So it was like, okay, Rolling Rock it is. And yeah, man, like, they ruined it. And those were the same guys that joined BLM years later. And
yeah,
like, boy, does that show.
yeah, PBR was the blue collar beer until the hipsters came along.
Mm-hmm. They ruined it, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I remember my assistant principal used to drink red, white, and blue.
Same thing, really.
Yeah. All right, security guy, did you cover what you needed to cover?
Well, I think we pretty much did. You know, I've mentioned what I think is going to happen, you know, a general idea.
Okay.
So, and I just want to put out here Blair White. For those of you who do not know who this is a tranny who is not quite conservative, not quite leftist, but leans towards the conservative side of things politically. Is a Second Amendment advocate and that stuff. She did a video today for the first time in a month, and I linked to it over on Telegram, where she said she had to do a video because of the stuff with Nashville. She's been monitoring it, and she said that she is seeing for herself the radicalization that's going on inside the tranny movement. with the whole they're being told they're being genocided every day. And she said what worries her the most, though, is what she is seeing happening on the right. And I fought this myself in the chats on Telegram. You are seeing people out there on the right promoting that we need to start attacking the trannies. We need to start shooting them before they shoot us. And I keep shutting that shit down. I keep pointing out that it's not all of the trannies that are radicalized that are shooting at us. It's just that small percentage of it. And that's what this Audrey Hale was part of that small percentage. Blair White said that she is seeing with her own neighbors, people that she got along with a month ago. I don't give a fuck, milkmaid, okay? I don't care. I'll call it a fucking it. It doesn't matter. Okay, Blair White is saying with his, her, whatever's neighbors are now giving her the side eye, are now giving 20 feet and watching her like she's the enemy. We need to realize, and we keep harping on this constantly in live streams, you need to realize it is not just the left that is being manipulated. You are too. And you are being manipulated into doing exactly what the trannies are saying is happening to them. You are being manipulated into hunting them down, doing that genocide, so that they can get even more of those mentally deranged people in that movement radicalized to come after us.
Well, and also my stance, trans or not on a mass shooter, still doesn't change.
No.
You can change the color of the shooter. You can change the sex of the shooter. You can change the sexual orientation of the shooter. Show me the antidepressants that they're on, and I'll show you a shooter. You know, that's pretty much where I'm at there. The psychotropics are almost always involved in these shooters, and you can't challenge the pharmaceutical industry. You know, you can't do it. You want to talk about the Darth Vader that runs this country? It's the pharmaceutical industry for sure. And I think the coup proved that, right? Do I need to? Yeah, you know, I mean, like you really found out who ran Bartertown when the let's call it a real thing came out. I mean, we probably can't call it fake or you'll get a strike, but yeah, you know, a guaranteed customer base. They got a nice cash injection. That was basically almost like the big guy getting a cut almost, because like they were guaranteed and they were mad because they were like, man, everybody was supposed to get it. And then those stubborn ass people didn't get that coof shot, you know? So then they made 9 more of them and they were like, well, maybe we'll make our money back. I don't know. But regardless, you look at antidepressants and you look at shooters, mass shooters, and there is a dangerous connection there. And the government refuses to look at this. And like, I make fun of the trans thing, like with the shooters and the Bud Light thing and all that stuff, because it is kind of, it's funny, man. I think nothing's funnier than the trans subject to me, you know. Yeah. I think people should have the freedom to do whatever they want, because I do believe in liberty, you know. But I also believe that you can't make a law to make me go along with your LARP, you know. Like we all have LARPs, you know, like we all have these little daydreams. We all have these fake realities that we sort of dream up for ourselves where like, you know, oh, I'll fight these rabid wolves. You go along without me. I'll be the hero, you know, or whatever, you know, like, but when you say I'm a 65-year-old man and I identify as a 9-year-old girl, so I'm going to wear a diaper and like, well, you know, like, come on, man. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to go to your house and pretend along with you. I'm not doing it, you know?
Yeah. But, even 10 years ago, someone like that would end up institutionalized, but not anymore. Now we're all told we have to accept their reality. Fuck that. If I got to accept their reality, they got to accept mine. But when I say that, I'm the extremist.
Yeah. I mean, the same goes, what Bug Out was saying. It's the phrase "I identify as" is pretty much the same as "I pretend to be."
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
When I was
And
9, I pretended to be an astronaut. Am I an astronaut? No.
dude, when I was 6 years old, I was pretty sure that I was Spider-Man.
I was Batman. I am
But
darkness. I am the night. I
Yeah,
am
I would.
Leo.
I said
I'd
in my
love to look
last,
into the Audrey thing more because I have not made this correlation yet. But if anybody went in the rabbit hole on this, maybe they could comment there. But I would almost guarantee you that she was on some kind of a psychotropic, some kind of an
more than likely,
antidepressant.
Oh
because they
yeah.
say she did have psychiatric issues, and now they're trying to pass off she did the shooting because of that. That's when they don't say that she's the victim. But and I went into this in the last rant video I did. I accept that there is a possibility that gender dysphoria might be real. And I think it was caused by the chemical additives in our foods over the last 30, 40, 50 years.
Well, there's a whole lot more of it now than there was before.
Exactly.
And yes, I dude, it's funny because you and I have never talked about this. But I've been making those connections as well, and I really do think that it's diet related. And why does it happen to some people and not others? And it is a fluke. But the other thing is, and like I remember joking about this when I was in high school, which was like 1,000 years ago, but it's even more so now. It's like, what is it with like when I was in high school, and you were a freshman or a sophomore in high school, like girls still kind of like most of them weren't even really developed yet, and
And
now it's like,
nowadays they're fucking having periods at 10 years old with
yeah,
breasts and
exactly.
everything. I know.
And like, what's the deal with that, and then you look, it's like they're aging faster too, because it's like they hit their peak earlier and then they fall off the cliff earlier too, like a 30 something year old now on this younger generation is like what a 50-year-old is in my generation,
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
it's really weird how that's like they're being accelerated almost,
And you
and
got to wonder on that, how is that affecting the fertility rates too? Because it used to be when a woman hit 35, that was considered kind of the cutoff. That was when, after that point, there was no guarantee that they were going to ever have a kid. I'm wondering now, is that cutoff dropped from 35 down to 30?
yeah, who knows, man. And I can only imagine that our new batches of mandatory pharmaceuticals probably help there, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I like, zero. It used to be the liberal stance was zero population growth, which I almost, when you sell it to me like that, I'm like, wow, okay, that doesn't sound bad at all. Like two people have two kids and then they find a partner and they have two kids and you maintain zero population growth. And that's where, like, when you get somewhere and you're like, we're in a good spot, let's keep it right where it's at. And I'm like, okay, all right, I get it. That was when they were being responsible. Now it's like vagina hat parades and stuff. And I'm like, man, you lost me, like you totally lost me. Like I was
I'm going to
oh,
say this. I think the foot soldiers that are going to be used to really start this shit off are what I refer to as the mentally weak.
mm-hmm.
These are people that have been taught what to think, not how to think. They've been indoctrinated since they were in preschool. And, it's just,
Was it Marx or Kaczynski that said the useful idiot? Whose term was that?
I think it was
Or Trotsky, maybe.
Trotsky.
I don't know.
Trotsky. Yeah.
But yeah, the useful idiot, man. Like they always have work for the useful idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Either mopping the parking lot when it's raining or emptying the latrine or something.
or, setting a blockbuster video on fire in the middle of Kenosha or something,
Yeah. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you, everyone who has stuck with us. Let's see, down to 123 watching now. Thank you,
we
everyone.
got just a cunt here short of 200.
Oh wow, I was
I looked a few times. We were well over 190 for a bit.
Damn, that's cool.
Yeah. I want to throw this out there and let's see what you guys say in TV land. How about when Ron takes us out, he shows us that cool intro video again.
I was kind of thinking the same thing.
You should be proud of that thing, man.
Okay. Let's see. Open.
Reds came to Kenosha.
Let's do this right. Do this right. All right.
Yeah, a little bit of premature something going on there.
Yeah. I'm still learning this. And
I don't
it's
call
not
it
like
premature.
It's not like I have a Jolene that runs this for me. I need a video switch. I mean, to me, I know what to do. I need a video switcher with different inputs and what have you. But such is the case. But thank you, everybody who attended this almost 3-hour broadcast. Any last words, guys?
Not for me.
Okay.
I'll just say that I've said this before. This is probably going to be the last year we get to prepare. So you need to be getting what you're short on. You need to spread your preps out. Don't have them all in one place. If you're putting caches out in the field, you better get them out as fast and as hard as you can this year. Because once we get to spring next year, who knows what's going to fucking happen.
Yeah. Okay. All right. With that, I want to say goodnight to everyone out there, and let's have that closeout video.
The Reds came to Kenosha to riot just for fun. The DNC had told them that the cops were on the run. But communists and primates, while on a jog at night, say, remember Kyle Slaughter and the bloody Armalite. And it's up in Kenosha, that's where I long to be, protecting gas stations with commandos next to me. A comrade on me left, another one on me right, and a couple mags of ammo for me little Armalite.